Stop.
All right, hold on. Devious, 23-month resub. Thank you. Is everybody else in the safe position?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Keep the brakes on here. All right. Now, yeah, just keep that like that. Keep that like that. Let me just demolish this stupid rails. Get rid of the groundwork. All right, everybody back out. Because I'm going to switch over to coverage. Everest, it is like that. Mods, can we time out Everest? Because, yeah, he didn't... You gotta bear with me. You gotta wait until it says link perms are given. Alright. Warrens, we're waiting on you. Nuggets, yeah, you can back out. Good job on the break, man. But yeah, you kind of got to expect people to... It's like, it's no problem that the thing derailed. Everybody derails it on the first try. It's like jumping in the Matrix.
What's your cash look like now, EJ, after that iron run?
6 Gs.
Not bad.
Yeah, we're doing alright. Okay, cool. Alright, I will save, and then... If I have it in me, guys, we can play after the splashdown if you want. So... Because we gotta go, we might have to go all the way to the Starlink thing, to the Starlink launch, which is in a couple of hours. But anyway, I'm gonna switch us over to coverage here. Guys, thanks for playing with me.
If you back to this, I'll join you.
All right, cool. Thanks for playing with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, 2 of them are asleep.
Yep. Okay, Nuggets, no problem. 1 hour to splash. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. I'm out. I'll see you later.
See you, EJ.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that game is trouble, dude. Railroads is trouble. It's fun. It's a good little change of pace from doing space stuff. But there are trains operating all over the world right now. There's thousands, millions of them. You know what? But there's only one spacecraft coming back from space right now. And we're going to go watch that. So, I flipped this over to coverage, and there we go.
Seats because we would want.
I'm just going to take a pee break, guys. I'll be right
I'm
back.
that way on an airplane. I don't see myself being any different in a space capsule.
Same.
But let me know.
Yeah, we splashed down a locomotive.
Okay,
That's right.
flight.
Yeah, that sounds great. The person that was in the forward or closest part to the camera of that previous view, that was our commander, Raja Chari. So he's now on the left-hand side of that screen, sitting in seat 2, and then sitting in seat 3 on the right-hand side of the screen is our pilot, Tom Marshburn. And on the screens that they are looking at, those are touch screens that they utilize to follow along with the Dragon's activities and progress. We can see in the center screen is basically a geolocator, just tells them where they are around the world. And then the screens that were... thought we were going to get some comms there. The screens that were on either side had the same display, and that was actually a display for Draco's thrusters. That whenever whenever the Draco engines are firing on Dragon, that graphic will actually show them which ones are pulsing when. So whenever we get into more of these events that require further Draco burns, we'll definitely be seeing that light up there on their screen.
We saw some amazing views of that last night after undocking when it was,
we sure
especially during deorbit burn 1. That was amazing. But we're coming up on about a minute now until the deorbit sequence begins. So trunk jettison slew to the trunk jettison attitude will be coming up first. And then following that is the claw separation. So we expect to hear that call up to the crew really any minute now.
The claw, as we said before, is the piece of hardware that basically connects all of the umbilicals, the power, the fluids, the avionics, all that good stuff. That's what connects those items between Dragon and the trunk. And since we're going to jettison the trunk, we first have to basically unhook that claw so that the trunk can get pushed away.
And that includes those solar cells as well. So Dragon will be running on battery power.
SpaceX, deorbit sequence start.
All right, guys. Here we go. Let's see what's going on.
All right, so we just heard that we're going to begin that slew.
It's
And then
non-dedicated
following
right
that,
now.
In about 2 minutes, a minute.
It's non-dedicated right now, so Ian, it's only when I'm online is it working. So on the
Yeah,
other side of Splashdown, dude, I'll play some
2
more
minutes
because we got to go to
after
this. We
we'll
got to
have
go to the
claw
Starlink launch.
separation. So separating those umbilicals that we were talking about, putting Dragon on battery power, and that'll be how it remains until Splashdown, which, amazing enough, is about 45 minutes from now. So it's hard to believe they're just floating in space
Fast
right
forwarding.
now.
All right, so they're looking for umbilical disconnect. Umbilical disconnect is this thing right here. If you look at the Dragon capsule, see that little nacelle thing right here? Not the Super Draco, not this. This guy. See that one? So this is power and coolant circulation, because on the trunk of Dragon, which is the aerodynamic kind of interstage thing that's attached to the back, it's hollow on the inside. They got solar panels and they got radiators. So all the coolant loops that connect to the capsule for the radiators and all the electrical power that connects to solar panels goes through this umbilical, amongst other things. They're going to separate that umbilical, right? And when they separate it, then the trunk can separate from Dragon.
And excited to retrieve the crew from the water.
And we've heard they have
There's
great
an
weather
interior
as well.
shot
That's
right
a huge
there
factor
that- yep,
when we
yep,
consider
right.
bringing a crew home.
They cut
we
it-
want to make sure that the
they
wind
cut it
speeds
right when I
are not too
right
high
when
and
I-
the waves
when I
aren't
switched
either.
Yeah.
We want it to be a smooth ride.
92 pounds to kilograms, Swishio? 40. It's about 40 kilos, give or take. What claw? Watermelon? Is the trunk expended or recovered? It is expendable. Dougie, it's going to sit there. It's going to sit up in orbit for a little while. Yeah, and then it'll eventually decay and come back down.
It's for the crew inside the capsule, but for the crews involved
Stand
in
by for trunk
retrieving
sep.
the capsule from the water. It's a very dynamic process, to say the least. I'll save some suspense and excitement for when it happens. But for those that have, not followed along with our splashdowns previously.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal trunk jettison.
Okay. Got a good trunk jettison there. Okay.
Great news there. We
Crew Operations Response Engineer, Core, right there. It's second to last row center desk. It's reported good trunk separation. And Raja and Tom, who is the commander and pilot on this mission, Rajachari right there, Tom Marshburn, reported good indication of trunk separation. Now, why? Why do they do that? Because they want to make sure that what these guys are seeing on their control panels in Dragon is what Mission Control is seeing. That's why, we're reporting good trunk separation. Yep, so are we. You have to make sure.
Or cabinet.
Actually, another interesting thing is that a couple of people that you might recognize if you know spaceflight. Gwen Shotwell, the president of SpaceX, is right there. She runs SpaceX basically day to day. Elon's the chief engineer. Gwen Shotwell's right there. And then that guy right there is Bill Gerstenmaier. Bill Gerstenmaier was the head of NASA's Human Exploration Operations Mission Directorate for like 25 years. That guy ran the shuttle program all the way into the end, and then he was the HAOMD until 2017. Yep, Gerst is sitting in mission control next to Gwen Shotwell. You believe that, Ian? He works for SpaceX. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Jim, believe it or not, muscled him out. And he replaced him with Doug Lavero. And then Doug Lavero left because he got caught leaking NASA secrets to Boeing. True story. And then they replaced him with Kathy Leaders. Kathy Leaders is still the current head of Human Exploration Operations Mission Directorate. Yeah, true story.
It's the last time that they will ignite. The
Oh, yeah,
deorbit
Ian,
burn
you
will
know it's
place
gonna be
Dragon
good
on a
'cause Gerst is
precise
on board.
trajectory to
Gerst was an engineer on the shuttle program. He worked in aerodynamic hypersonic wind tunnel testing for the shuttle program, and then he worked his way up to head. So the guy that the person that runs NASA's Human Exploration Operations Mission Directorate is an engineer. You need a scientist to run the Science Mission Directorate, and then you need an engineer to run the Human Exploration Operations Directorate. Gerst ran that. He went from shuttle wind tunnel testing all the way up to the head engineer of NASA, like over the span of like 45 years. He ran the shuttle program for a good while, and then he ran a good deal of SLS as well, which is pretty nuts. Trunk separation, can you explain that again? Dragon is divided principally into two components. You have your heat shield right here in the center, and then behind it you have a trunk, which is a hollow space. This is what adapts Dragon to Falcon 9, second stage. And then you have the Dragon capsule. The trunk is jettisoned. They don't need that part. It only has radiators and solar panels on it. The heat shield is right here. Now, I would note that the trunk, like I said, is hollow. There's nothing inside of it. It's hollow. It looks just like this. But the heat shield has to fly first. So they jettison the trunk. Now what they're doing is getting ready for the deorbit burn. The Dragon's forward bulkhead thrusters, there's 4 thrusters behind the nose cone here, are getting ready to fire. And Dragon actually deorbits, if it was Kerbal, by hitting N. It shoots the RCS forward and it deorbits that way. That's how it flies retro. Oof, Everest, that sucks. So, yep, they're getting ready for the deorbit burn here.
Crew Dragon mission, and she was actually the pilot for Crew-1, I believe it was.
I think.
No, it was Crew-2 because Shannon.
Yeah.
Wow, it's so difficult to keep everything straight now. Yeah, Shannon was a mission specialist on the Crew-1 mission, and Megan was the pilot for the Crew-2 mission. So we,
nice
appreciate
you should
their
be unmuted now. You
participation in our program, and we've chosen to honor them.
Time between burn and EDL, 20 minutes.
After them.
Okay. Stand by for
We are coming up on that deorbit burn. Less than a minute now until the burn starts. Again, that's going to be a less than 8-minute burn. It's a longer one for sure. And that is us committing, saying that we are coming home. That'll help Dragon exit the Earth's orbit, come into
the pulses,
atmosphere,
see the monitors,
and
they're pulsing.
Looks like those thrusters are firing on those.
So this is a forward-facing kind of camera on Dragon. That's what the pilot and the commander see. Commander's on the left. Rajachari's on the left. Tom Marshburn is on the right. Something interesting about the Dragon's thrusters. So a reaction control system thruster, the RCS thrusters on the Dragon are called Draco thrusters. If you notice, they were modulating the thrust. They were basically flipping the things off and on and pulsing the thrusters, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? They're pulsing the thrusters to control heating. It controls the thermals, because how do you keep those nozzles clean? I mean, not clean. How do you keep them from melting? Well, pulsing the RCS helps modulating the thrust on the RCS. See, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That helps keep the nozzles from melting on the forward bulkhead thrusters. Speaking of that, Falcon 9 is vertical at 39A. Okay. Yep, you can see right here. Oh, please go back to that, man.
About 6.5 minutes left in the burn. Again, it's about a 7-minute, 45-second
Gerst
burn,
is gone.
I believe.
How long before they start to come back? Clayton, them modulating those thrusters is them deorbiting. But spaceflight is weird, dude. If you want to enter in Florida, you want to re-enter over Florida, you want to splash down in Florida, you need to do the burn over China somewhere on the other side of the world. That's because remember, whatever side of the orbit that you're on, if you do burn forward and back, prograde and retrograde, you're going to screw with the exact opposite side of your orbit. So they're burning on the other side of the world, and that's going to lower the perigee, or the perigee is called the lowest point in your orbit. That's going to lower the perigee to basically where the perigee basically coincides with Tampa. The perigee is over Tampa right now, and it's lowering because they're firing the thrusters. They're slowing down. When they're slowing down, Earth's going to pull them back in, right? And it's lowering the perigee basically over Tampa, or at least out a little ways west of Tampa, and this thing's going to come shooting in. It takes about 40 minutes for the whole thing to happen, and we're about 2 or 3 minutes into that right now. Oh, yes, it's awesome, dude.
Operations, as well as the crew aboard the
forlorn.
returning spacecraft, of course. But multiple notices are issued to the mariners in advance and during recovery operations, and the Coast Guard patrol boats are also deployed to discourage boaters from entering the splashdown zone.
Yep,
so
see? Pulsing the
we wanna
thrusters.
stress to
1,
the
2,
public
3, 4.
that
1,
need
2,
to
3,
respect
4.
this
1, 2,
safety
3,
zone.
4.
Recovering a spacecraft from the water is a hazard.
So check this out. Their orbital velocity should be going down slightly. But if you look right here, apogee and perigee, look at the perigee. Their perigee's going down. See that? 127 by 412. So 412 is the highest point in the orbit that they're on right now, which is around where the ISS was. And 127 is where the perigee is. Still got a little ways to go. You ideally want that perigee number to be negative, because that means you're truly suborbital. That means you're coming back down. It really depends. They might float it at like 5 kilometers, so to speak, or about 3 miles above Tampa, and then when they come in, the aerodynamics is going to slow them down, and the air is going to compress. You know, the heat shield's going to do its thing, and then they'll come down just west of Tampa. I wonder why they aim for the Gulf and not the Atlantic. Recovery conditions, S. Yeah, the recovery conditions were preferable for Tampa. Basically, the waters are more calm in the Gulf. See? Look. See it going down? 106 going down, 105. 104, 103. This is your inclination over here. That's their tilt relative to the equator. So if you drew a line on the equator, and whenever Dragon passes the equator, the angle that it would make between the equator and Dragon's orbit is 51 degrees. 51.6 to be precise. It looks like they changed it a little bit down to 51.2 to get a more precise reentry trajectory. 51.6 is the ISS's inclination. Yeah, the ISS is in a weird tilty boy orbit. Why not into the Pacific? Because Florida is closer to where they launched them. Hey Brandon, what's going on? Yep, see, there's the ground track of their orbit. See how their orbit has very high amplitude? That means you're more inclined. See, if you look at the monitor, they have the recovery zone. Now they changed the view, of course. Damn it, Tom, change the view back. This is your checklist over here. They would have the trajectory. They showed the recovery zones. That's what it was showing. We're about 44 minutes from splashdown. That's what the other thing on the monitor showed. If you look, there's a time till splashdown on the top left corner of the center monitor. It'll show you how much time they have left in space. So that Pad Ninja, I know she transferred. I guess she was on console for either Crew-4 or AX1. Cool. How far out are they out of Tampa? It's 4 or 5 miles out there, Clayton. It's a little ways out. They go out into deep water because they don't want people near the capsule. The reason why is that after DM2, some boaters, you know, Florida Army right there, man, right? Went over near the capsule when it was, yep, see, there's the recovery zone. See, right there. That's the recovery zone. They're 4324 out from splashdown. Orbital velocity 7.56 kilometers a second. Apogee is sitting at 420. Nice. Perigee is sitting at... Actually, that's their current altitude. 420 kilometers up. Their perigee went down to like 58 kilometers. They're almost done with the burn. Clayton, a bunch of people boated out to the stupid thing, right? And they got near the capsule. And don't get me wrong, I still think that's cool. Now, people are going to get all pissed off about it. I don't like the flags that they... Yeah, not many people do. But I think that's cool that people went out into the middle of the freaking ocean to watch a capsule come back. My problem is that you have to stay the frick away from that thing. The reason why is because the capsule, these rocket thrusters are using extremely carcinogenic propellants. They use a special type of chemical for their fuel up there that stays liquid even up in the vacuum of space. It's a very volatile chemical. They use nitrogen tetroxide and monomethyl hydrazine. Now, Clayton, you don't want people going near that, because if you breathe that, you die. You die. Yeah, so, like, I don't have a problem with a bunch of boaters around the capsule. I thought that was actually really cool, regardless of what flag they were flying. I think that was really neat. But you can't go near the capsule, because if the wind blows in the wrong way and you get a whiff of those things, you're going to die. Like, if you inhale even a little bit of that, you're really going to get sick. The Tampa Bay is in the Gulf of Mexico, Swishio. Yeah, it's on the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, they're going to be in the Gulf of Mexico. That was DM2. We're reporting a good deorbit burn here.
All right, good news. Deorbit burn is complete. That 7-minute, 45-second burn. They are committed to coming home. And that splashdown, again, we're looking for in less than 30 minutes from now. They also mentioned the nose cone will be closing. The 4 forward bulkhead thrusters that were just used for the deorbit burn, we won't use those again. And so the nose cone can close and protect the hatch underneath. That's the hatch that they used once they arrived at the space station and to get to get on and off the space station. But tonight, whenever they exit the vehicle, they will exit out the side hatch, which is the one they used when they entered the capsule about 6
Whoa, nose cone retraction.
So that's a live view.
We've never seen this before. So that's Dragon's forward nose cone.
It
rotates back in and
at the forward end of Dragon.
Once because the forward bulkhead thrusters are being used to deorbit, there are 4 thrusters that are up at the front. The nose cone needs to stay open. When they're getting ready to go after the deorbit burn is complete, the nose cone actually folds back in. It folds back in and it covers up the front docking port and the bulkhead thrusters. They're committed now. That's cool, dude. We've never seen that before. They should add a camera to the trunk to look back at the ship. I wish, man. Here, I'm going to rewind that one. We've never seen that before. There it is. There's the pilot dowel on the nose cone, and then the nose cone hooks in. See the hooks? That's so cool. I've never seen this before. That's the first for me. Wouldn't splashdown on the east side of Florida make more sense near the Cape? Any idea why they chose the Gulf instead? Yeah, because getting a capsule out of rough seas is a little bit of a pain in the butt, man. That's why. That's why they chose Tampa. Florida is the backup site. Florida, I think the recovery conditions for the east coast of Florida would have been good tomorrow if they had a 24-hour turnaround. The conditions over near Tampa are more favorable. It literally comes down to chop on the seas. I mean, you know, dude. Waves do be like that.
The nose cone, as we just saw, was closing. And that is basically the final...
oh, that's so cool, man! The nose cone!
So we're expecting that to complete in just about another
It always is, man. Rocket science may be complicated, but
this is basically
it's really a lot. It's more common sense than you think. It's you know, rocket science has its fair share of book smarts, right? But you'd be surprised how much of this is not book smarts. It's just common sense. Recover the capsule where the water is calmer. All right, we can always sail a boat around the coast of Florida. I'm sure the crew wouldn't complain. You know what I mean?
Jettison the trunk, and now with the closure of
Rake
the nose
that
cone,
hazard pay, boy.
Dragon is in its final, final exterior physical state, because obviously there's some like interior physical state differences as you know, the system gets ready to re-enter. So we're almost done with that nose cone closure. We should hear call out for
Mark?
That
exactly.
at any moment.
There's a big Florida in the way.
From our team located.
Am I right? There's a big Florida in the way to keep the waters in the Gulf of Mexico nice and calm. There's a big Florida in the way. It's going good, RJ. They just had hatch retraction and they showed it. They showed the nose cone retracting. Guys, we've never seen that before. They've never shown that footage. They never showed the footage of the nose cone retracting, which is actually really cool.
3,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
thought.
It's pretty warm.
Very
yeah.
toasty. I'm a usually cold person, but I don't
Yeah.
think I'd go that hot.
Yeah, as we said, Dragon has initiated the suit purge and the environment purge of that nitrox. So we are actively cooling the air around the astronauts. So they'll stay really comfortable inside Crew Dragon, even though the exterior gets up to 3,500 degrees. I do want to note that as a result of that temperature, that's not true. It's not a result of that temperature.
This is a tropical system, but we don't talk about
the
that,
fact
Mark.
that as Dragon is re-entering the Earth's atmosphere at such a high speed, it actually forms a shock wave at the base of the heat shield, and lots of science happens, and basically there's ionization of the particles around the Dragon capsule, and it'll get so condensed and hot that it'll form plasma around the side of it. So that's why once we see Dragon after splashdown, it'll look a little toasty, but as a result of that plasma, we won't be able to communicate with the crew. That plasma basically prevents any radio frequencies to go in or out. We are unable to command Dragon to do anything, but it's actually a really good thing because the Earth's atmosphere is acting as that initial.
How often do I
braking
stream? I stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Usually 10-hour streams. If there's coverage though or something at a weird hour, I usually stream for longer. Like yesterday's stream covering the undocking for Crew-3 ended up being like 13.5 hours. Every Saturday I do a nice long stream so people can enjoy on the weekend. Do about 15 hours. I haven't worked a 40-hour work week in probably about 8 years, something like that. Yeah. My work weeks usually run from 50 to 60 hours. I stream a lot. I like streaming. I like being here. And I like teaching people about space and science and all this other cool stuff.
Discovery,
Yo, hey, thanks for the sub, man.
Communication with the crew.
No, you didn't need to do that.
Realistically, hopefully by
Thanks,
then
man.
we'll have
I'll drink
used
my claw to that,
UV
bro.
plane that you mentioned earlier with a thermal camera to
T-minus 35 to
catch
splashdown.
a view
Thank
of
you,
Dragon
Devlin.
as it has.
Thank you for
doing that
being here.
re-entry.
No problem,
Yeah,
Jamie.
fingers crossed.
In
And
that
you
case, I'll
mentioned
throw us up.
the
I appreciate that, man.
atmosphere
Thank you very
doing
much.
the beginning of the work to slow
Exactly.
Crew Dragon down. After it re-enters the atmosphere.
So yeah, what Kate was talking about with re-entry, if you see there's a Dragon heat shield sitting on the back right there. Dragon uses what's called like an ablator heat shield. So an ablator heat shield,
Discovery, go at throttle up.
an ablator heat shield will basically burn itself off, and that's the shielding. So okay, here's a little bit of physics right here. So that Dragon is gonna come, it's gonna come back down, and it's gonna hit the atmosphere. When it starts hitting the gases in the atmosphere, as Kate already said it, but I'll just reiterate it. It's going to hit those air molecules so fast that the air molecules will compress against the heat shield. They will compress, and they will compress to such a high pressure, they will literally rip apart. A re-entering spacecraft hits air molecules so fast, they rip apart. And when they rip apart, they release an insane amount of heat energy. It's called ionization. They ionize. Basically, this Dragon is coming in so fast that the air molecules can't get out of the way, so they end up compressing up against the heat shield. And that ionization, the compression gets so high that they heat up so much because of the ideal gas law, they literally rip apart. They'll start shooting ions out all over the place. And that creates an insane amount of energy release. Kind of like splitting an atom almost, but it's a little bit different. Right? That's neutrons, not ions, but that's another story. So it creates an awesome amount of heat. And when I say awesome, I mean awesome. Well, we're talking like 1600 C here, about like 3500 Fahrenheit. It's way up there. And that plasma kind of just accumulates on the bottom of the heat shield because that compressed air has no place to go. So that plasma heats up the heat shield. But the heat shield, what it does, it's getting burned by the plasma. And when it burns colder than the plasma. And some of that gas that gets expelled from the burn absorbs that re-entry heat. It absorbs it, and it goes out and away from the capsule. So the capsule ends up getting enveloped in a nice cool column of gas, and that's basically its shield. It basically makes sure the capsule doesn't get burnt to a crisp on the way down, except for the heat shield. The heat shield's supposed to burn off. It's called an ablator heat shield, and basically, yeah, the heat shield burns and it dissipates some of the energy that's created from literally hitting air molecules so fast that they shatter into a million pieces.
the cooled nitrox into
It's
the
cool,
air
man.
being delivered
It's freaking
to the
metal.
suits worn by Raja, Tom,
Nose cone is
Kayla,
secured.
and Matthias.
Thank you.
Again, this is what will allow the crew to remain comfortable while external temperatures reach that 3,500
Do they get a heat
degrees
shield for each
Fahrenheit.
launch? Yeah,
The
you
heat shield
need
is pointing forward.
you need a new heat shield every time. Ablator heat shields are one-time use. You got to replace it after that. Now compare that to the space shuttles, the space shuttle nose cone, and the space shuttle tiles, which are reusable. The space shuttle's nose cone, so the space shuttle nose cone works like the bulbous bow on a ship. When the space shuttle started hitting reentry, the nose cone was the first thing to hit it, and the nose cone was kind of a blunt shape. And what it's designed to do is straight up resist that heat and shoot it off to the sides. It's designed to take that plasma and push it out away from the shuttle. That's the shuttle's nose cone is the key. That is made out of reinforced carbon, which is reusable, but RCC is kind of heavy. It's heavy and it's expensive to make. So the shuttle only had it on the nose cone and on the wing leading edges. Because, like I said, it's designed to shoot the plasma off. It's designed to deflect it instead of kind of absorb the heat with the ablator shield. And then the tiles could basically not flex heat. They can absorb heat like crazy too. But that's like a reusable one. Dragon has a non-reusable heat shield because it's less expensive.
1,000 degrees during peak reentry conditions.
Hey,
the
Ma, what's going
characteristics
on?
of the TPS, or the thermal protection systems, coupled with the ECLIS, environmental cooling and life support system, in the pressurized interior will ensure that Raja,
They
Tom,
replaced
Kayla,
the thermal-
and Matthias
the
stay
thermal
cool and comfortable
protection
during
on its
all
switch-o.
phases of reentry
Guys,
through Splashdown.
I want to be very clear. The Dragon capsules are reusable, but a good deal of the thermal protection system needs to be refurbished. Just like the space shuttle. They're a refurbishable capsule, but they can keep reusing them. That's no problem. But they do need to be refurbished to an extent. You need to install new thermal blankets on the outside, and you need a new heat shield. But everything else, the interior, the screens, the seats, the seat belts, the environmental control says that all can be reused. They could just reuse it. All they got to do is just swap the heat shield out, refurbish the outside, you're good to go.
Dragon will automatically
gotta buff it out.
deploy these parachutes when different pressure and positioning sensors on the capsule.
Are there any other capsules that use reusable heat shields? The X-37 does, and Dream Chaser will.
Miles per hour. So that's a lot better than that 17,500
For
before
sure.
Uh,
it re-enters the atmosphere.
Soyuz is 100% expendable.
350 is
Forlorn, believe
quite
it
a
or
bit
not.
slower.
Nothing gets
but the
reused
drogues
from
will
that thing.
deploy at about 18,000 feet. So those drogues
Yo,
help slow the
it's
capsule to
Alex.
119
Holy
miles
crap,
per hour,
dude.
and that's about when the main parachutes deploy.
Whoa! Etal, thank you for the raid, man. We're about to watch a capsule come back from reentry. Holy crap, thanks, man. It is me, fiance. You guys know Alex, right? Good streamer. What were you playing, dude? Or chat, what was Etal up to? And you got gifted a sub. Sweet. That's a hell of a raid, man. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Space stuff. Yeah, we're about to watch a dragon splashdown here in a second. Yeah, they're about to go through communications blackout because they're going through reentry here. What's up, Etal? Hey, thanks for the raid, man. I appreciate it. We're playing a new Warhammer 40k game like XCOM. Oh, right on, dude. What were you playing? Who were you playing as? Tell me you weren't playing as Heretic Scum, or I'm gonna be a little disappointed. Be a little disappointed, man. You here to watch Dragon Breathe Fire? Hell yeah. Yeah, Port, about 10 minutes. Yep. Tau? No, it's for the Imperium. For the Imperium. The Grey Knights. Oh, you are the man. Hell yeah, Grey Knights. When you absolutely have to eliminate every heretic in the room, man. Hell yeah, that's cool. Good man. Etal, thanks for the raid, dude. For the Etal Raiders, I'm EJ. I'm currently covering a SpaceX capsule with 4 NASA astronauts aboard. 3 NASA astronauts, 1 European astronaut. Coming back down from the ISS right now. The splashdown is in about 30 minutes, give or take. But anyway, for my chat, if you guys know Alex is awesome. Really a fantastic streamer. I honestly, Etal, I heard about you through Brimo. I'm not gonna lie. Like, But yeah, no, awesome streamer. Alex does like RimWorld, playing XCOM. I mean, you play all kinds of stuff, dude. That card game, dude. I was watching you play that damn card game with Brimo for like 3 hours the other day. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, guys, go give Etal a follow. He's a great streamer. Really, really good. Alright, anyway, I'm gonna get back into listening, guys.
Copy.
I don't, Hibbit. No.
Copy, no timeline changes, so 6-second blackout is 4:30 and 4:37. No vehicle issues, and then
right, PlayStation.
change in the winds from 3 to 7 knots, but still comps and still go on the recovery team.
Okay, recovery team is go. 7 knots, calm
That's a good read
seas.
back.
7 knots is the wind at the where the splashdown is. The wind's at 7 knots. That's nothing. Calm seas, nice and easy. You don't want the capsule to plop down in a freaking monsoon.
So there on your screen, that was SpaceX core, Sarah Gillis, just letting the crew know that
T-minus
everything is still
26
looking
till
good. No
splashdown.
change in the calculated timeline for that loss of signal, or LOS, as you hear it called. You can see on your screen there, the crowd here at SpaceX headquarters is starting to grow slightly as we get closer to that splashdown. It is a little late. The second shift is currently working right now, but I expect to see more people there as we get a little closer to splashdown itself.
Yeah, this is some of the most exciting stuff. And we're coming up on some of the most dynamic parts of the
entry,
mission.
pretty much right around
we're
now,
coming up on
T-man.
about 12 minutes until entry interface, which means we're around 14 minutes until that comm blackout, and less than 30 minutes now to splashdown. So
Gulfstream is on
again,
approach
we'll
to
be
Tampa,
off the coast of
WB
Tampa.
57.
And this was
It's in
determined
splashdown
thanks
location.
to
Cool.
careful analysis, not even just yesterday and today, but over the past week or so, teams looking at the weather forecasts and determining the best opportunities for us to target to bring these astronauts home after it's been 175 days for them on the space station, but
give this up to Tash.
177 days
Thanks,
for
man.
them in space in total.
Hell yeah.
As we said before, we have 7 different possible locations.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Hey, Swift to Scout. Welcome to Mission Control. You're going throttle up. Especially at wait, there's people working at night. Hawthorne never stops. 3 shifts, 3 8-hour shifts. It's going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's been like that since basically 2008. Yeah, this factory never shuts off, ever.
Greater flexibility
Ren, what's going
to
on?
say, okay, so for example,
Where does
if
Core sit in
the
SpaceX
Atlantic
control room?
coast
Sarah Gillis is right there.
You know, if there's a hurricane rolling through, as often does in Florida at certain times of the year, you know, if
Third
there's a
row,
hurricane
center
that just
seat.
rolled through, you know, that might mess up weather and sea states on the Atlantic side. But the Gulf
So these are all the flight controllers here. I know 2 of them. I know the core crew operations response engineer, and then I know a person sitting center first row center seat. That's Gwen Shotwell right there. She's the president of SpaceX. Over here you have Kate Tice. She's a processing engineer for SpaceX, and then that's Leah Cheshire. She's a PAO for NASA. I don't know any of these other people's names.
And those astronauts took
That's in
this
Hawthorne.
past
Yep.
week to have a
So,
handover period with
the
our
first-
Crew-3 astronauts.
Let me
So
back them out again. The first Dragon capsule that SpaceX ever launched into space is hanging from the ceiling right there, and then there's a landing leg from Falcon 9 right there. Behind you right there is the mezzanine. That's the cafeteria. It's 2 levels. On the upper level is the mez. That's where Kate and Leah are broadcasting from. See the capsule that's in the background right there from them? That's that capsule right there. They're looking down the production site for Falcon 9. You can see there's a Falcon 9 engine section sitting on the integration lift right there. See all the Merlin engines in the background? Over here, this enclosed area that's behind Kate, that's where they make fairings. You can actually see one back there being made on the mandrel. If you look at that shiny thing right there. All the way back here, there's engine assembly over here, Merlin 1D engine assembly. And then if you look in the very back, booster integration is back there. If you're keen-eyed and you like following SpaceX, you'll notice there's a Falcon Heavy nose cone sitting back there for a Falcon Heavy side booster. See it back there behind Kate's left shoulder? It's pretty rad, isn't it? I've been there. I've walked in here. We couldn't take pictures. I've walked up and down this aisle, guys, and down here, and I've seen mission control and everything, and Yeah, where those people are standing. Yeah, Das and I got to go in here. We walked all up in here. It's really cool. That's how I know where everything is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Crew Dragon is
Raptor
able to
production?
bring home some of those science experiments that the teams have worked on.
Raptor
They
wasn't
have
up when I was there, but
freezers.
it's over there.
And I mentioned I got to go to the Crew-3 Splashdown. On our helicopter flight back to land, we had those polar freezers in the
Couch.
helicopter
I've stood
with
next
us.
to
So
it,
it's
inside
a
of
really
the
quick
glass.
return, not only just for the
Off of Jack
astronauts,
Northrop?
but also
Oh,
for
yeah.
that science back to the researchers here on the ground so they can analyze the work that's been done.
The crazy thing is, dude, Couch, I saw that booster land. I was there when I saw that thing go up and come back down. I had the pleasure of going down there for the first landing. I was there. It was really freaking cool. So I've seen that booster land, and I ended up standing next to it. Me and my buddy got to sit next to it, which is really cool. Yeah, it was really cool. Serial number 1019. Yep, the Orbcomm 2 mission. Saw that thing land. First Falcon 9 to use densified propellants. Yeah. Really, really, really cool. Yeah, that's sitting at the corner on Jack Northrop, right? Yeah, I know exactly where that is, dude. That's cool. You saw the NRL from Pismo Beach a few weeks ago. Yeah. What was that? The L75? L75? That was a good one, dude. You see the first stage turn around and go back? Wasn't that cool? Dude, I stream all this stuff live. I try to stream as much as I can. I actually have permission from SpaceX to restream it. Not that anybody asks for permission about this anymore. I actually went through their communications in HR, not HR, but I went through the communications, and yeah, I have permission to restream all this stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. How does RP1 smell? Like jet fuel? Diesel fuel, Swishio. Diesel fuel, Jet A, and RP1 are all part of the same lineage. That's all part of the same kind of family of petroleum products. Yeah, diesel fuel, if you really want to know. It smells like burnt toast.
Because as the air is basically densifying because of the shock
Coolest
wave
room is the computer
that's
service
forming
and the
underneath
networking room. It's
the
over
heat
there.
shield, that plasma builds up on the side.
It's behind the wall that the landing leg is attached to, Kyron, and there's a xenomorph in there. Yeah.
Unable to send any
Discovery, no one throttle up.
Modern gift to the sub to Crazy Brendan.
But I believe we should have views of
Couch otter.
of the capsule.
Dude, I like around Hawthorne, like Manhattan Beach, El Segundo. It's a fun, cool area, dude. There's a lot of cool stuff going on around there. Like this.
Out to the crew to reestablish that communication.
And even though we won't have signal from Dragon, it's still doing its job. This is a fully autonomous vehicle. It doesn't require commands from the ground
Falcon
at that
9
time,
production
and it
is still
doesn't
in
require
Hawthorne,
any
Adam.
commands from the astronauts at that time either, though they're still able to monitor the performance of the vehicle.
Yep.
So it should only be, like you mentioned, about 6 or 7 minutes that we don't have comms with them. But it's amazing too. The vehicle's coming through so fast that if you're nearby, you can hear 2 sonic booms
How long
once
does
it
it
enters
splash?
the atmosphere.
20 minutes?
So they're making their grand re-entry and
That
arrival.
must have been so cool to see.
It is genuinely one of the things I will never forget. It was
Awesome.
amazing.
That's very cool. So we are about...
Couch Otter in their server room,
Discovery, no
which
one
is
throttle up.
behind this wall that the landing leg is attached to. In the server room, SpaceX has the Cyberdyne Systems logo with a model of the T-800 and its xenomorph. Yeah. In the server room. Because sci-fi. Yep. Oh, that's absolutely a thing. Yeah.
So as we saw,
You're not going to find many pictures of it, though, because they
several
don't let
minutes ago
people
at
take
this
pictures
point,
in there.
You know, the 4 forward Draco thrusters were firing.
Couch Hunter, you got a sub.
At,
Hell
you know,
yeah.
very specific. It wasn't just all 4 of them firing all at once,
Right.
all the time. There were some more impulse
Devlin-
type burns, and
Devlin has it for
that's
you.
really Dragon
926 NA.
calculating for itself exactly what it needs to do. And at the completion of that deorbit burn, it was on that precise trajectory. So yeah, we're excited to bring the crew home. Like we said before, they're going from 17,500 miles per hour. That's their rough orbital velocity. The atmosphere will slow them down to about 350 miles per hour.
It's bumpy nuclear,
That's when our
isn't it?
drogue parachutes will deploy. At that point, they'll be at about 18,000 feet above the ocean surface. And then the drogue parachutes will continue to significantly slow the vehicle down. At the 6,000 feet altitude, the main parachutes will deploy. We've got 4 of those. Those are the super iconic orange and white parachutes that everybody loves to see. And what's really incredible is that the drogue parachutes do so much work during that initial phase between 18,000 feet and 6,000 feet that we don't. If we didn't have the drogue parachutes, those main parachutes would have to be much bigger.
That's terrible cargo.
In
150
order
kilometers
to
in
slow the
altitude.
vehicle down enough to make a soft landing. They're only going about 10-15 miles per hour whenever they make contact with the ocean surface.
Those drogues are small but mighty.
Yes.
T-minus
So
5
again,
hours
we're
until
standing
SpaceX's
by
next
for,
mission.
The beginning of entry interface. That will kick off the rest of the deorbit procedures until we have splashdown. Last time we saw our crew members, they were in their suits, so that is a just-in-case procedure, essentially. That would be just in case the cabin were to depressurize.
Is complete with crew entry prep. Visors are down.
Copy, Raja. Tablets secure, restraints are down, and visors are closed. Additionally, can you confirm that your satchel is fully zipped?
How big are the chutes? Pretty big, dude. 40, 50 feet in diameter.
It
There's
is down.
4 of them.
Copy that. We are less than 4 minutes to anticipated LOS.
Okay.
We will talk to you on the other side at 4:37.
Okay, about 10 minutes. 16 minutes to
We'll
splashdown.
talk to you then.
Here we go.
Perfect timing with your comment, Leah. You were just saying that they're in their suits, and there we heard the call out that their visors are down. So
Yes.
That basically
Anywhere on the
means
Gulf
that
Coast,
their
Adam, you
suit
should be able to
is
see it.
then closed off to the interior environment.
It'll
of
look like a
Dragon.
meteor going
That
through the sky, and it'll look like it's going
we
straight.
require them to do that during the more dynamic events
Satchel is nominal.
while in Dragon. So obviously during
Nice
liftoff
catch.
and
Loss of signal,
and during
Astro.
reentry,
LOS.
of course, be that was a great call out by the core, Sarah Gillis. It sounded like they were able to see via one of the interior camera views that his satchel was not completely zippered. So I
Yeah,
loved
they're
that little
peeping on you all the
reminder.
time, dude. They
Yeah,
got
they
camera views
made
of
sure that the
interior.
cabin is
It's on the big wall
configured
over
for
here.
reentry. So that means everything is stowed. They would have done that a little while ago before they got in their seats and strapped up and connected their umbilicals. But don't want a lot flying around in the cabin while they are reentering. So everything is secured. That includes the tablets that they use to review procedures. But they can still see the status of the vehicle via those
pretty
three
much
screens
now,
in the middle.
Nuclear.
So
They're
we
going
are
to go
getting
through
closer.
entry
She
here in a
mentioned
second.
just a few minutes until we have communications blackout.
Yep, see?
And we expect to hear from them again in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Now you said before that they're going to experience about 3 to 5 Gs during this re-entry period. So if you've been on a roller coaster, you can imagine it's like that point where after you initially go up and that drop whenever you come back down, it's that feeling that they're going to have.
Any details on the helicopter thing the other day? Sharp, they caught it. Rocket Lab caught that booster, but the pilot, I think the pilot saw loads that wasn't expected. I think some of the catch rope got caught in the parachute rigging, so they jettisoned it, and the parachute reinflated, and the booster landed in the water, and they fished it out and got it back. It's back in New Zealand now, which is actually pretty cool.
Medical tents and evaluate the crew members and sometimes do scientific research.
Thing landed
when it
in one
comes
piece
to
in the
things
water,
like
no
balance.
problem. Parachute reinflated.
And so they'll do some of the same things here. They'll make sure the crew is feeling good before they take them, put them on the helicopter, and send them back to land.
They'll see it low on the horizon. Awesome. You can see it.
Down
You can see it from
and
Tampa. I know.
Recovered from
it's
the
low,
water. We'll see
low
them
on the
lifted
horizon,
onto
but
that
you'll see
recovery
it.
vessel Shannon. And once the side hatch is opened, we'll actually see the flight surgeon.
I know.
That person
Phoenix,
will
that's
be
the
the
cool
first
part.
person
Peter
to
Beck
pop
was
their
like,
head in
all right,
and just do
fly it
a
again.
quick verbal
Task
thumbs
failed
up with all 4
successfully.
crew members as an initial gauge on how they're feeling, and based on previous returns.
Yeah,
and,
Couch. That's
the
what
way
that's
this
what
one's
blew my
shaping up,
mind. I'm like,
hoping to see
wait,
4
the
thumbs up
chute
there.
reinflated?
But
all right.
for the most part,
100
between now
kilometers
and
in
then,
altitude.
Raja, Tom, Kayla, and Matthias are mostly just going to be monitoring where things are in terms of the return process and where we fall in that.
I just want to give another safety reminder. I know that it's nighttime and there probably aren't too many people boating too far off the coast of Florida, but they are splashing down off the coast of Tampa. That's our prime site today based on...
RICOM TLDR, 4 astronauts coming back from the space station on SpaceX's Dragon capsule. We're about 15 minutes out from splashdown here. They're splashing down off the coast of Tampa in a Dragon 2 capsule that's operated by SpaceX.
area. So it's all for the safety of not
That's
just the
TLDR
crew
enough
who
for
have
you,
spent
man?
6 months in space, but also the recovery teams and also any civilians or boaters that might
The
be
Super
nearby.
Dracos are
to
inerted
stay
after
away from the
liftoff.
capsule, stay away from the
Nah, you
area, and
couldn't do
respect
it.
the Coast Guard's
Doesn't work like that.
patrol
Extremely
boats.
TLDR.
That
I
way
got you, man.
you can watch here, and we promise we will give you the best views and all the latest information.
Maybe switching.
Yeah, I'm looking at range status right now. There's a couple of law enforcement vessels out there, not too many casual, so that's good news. But yeah, so
How many
right now
revolutions
we
were they
are
made well in
expecting
the
that
atmosphere?
entry interface
Half.
to begin soon.
Half of one, nuclear.
We are actually, it's now.
Perigee is already way into the negative. They are way suborbital. The capsule altitude right now is between 80 and 100 kilometers. That's about 55 miles up. They're well into the atmosphere. You're not coming back. They're coming down, whether they like it or not.
7 p.m. Pacific time.
You can see the crowd growing outside of SpaceX Mission Control here in Hawthorne. Everyone watching.
You have an offset
as
center of
we
mass
get
with Dragon Grab Shark.
closer
Yeah,
and closer
you can
to the main event, which will be Splashdown.
It can change the AOA on the heat shield by
And these teams
rolling
here
the
are
capsule,
monitoring the
just
status
like
of the
Apollo
vehicle
can.
as well.
Yep.
But again, they don't have to send commands right now.
85
the vehicle
kilometers.
knows exactly what to do. It's fully autonomous. So everyone is simply monitoring this. We also have teams in Mission Control Houston at Johnson Space Center who are monitoring the
don't
mission,
frown.
as well as
Frown
they
upon.
are 24/7 monitoring the status of the space station itself.
NASA axed that idea a long time ago, S. The Super Dracos, after capsule separation from the second stage, are inerted, and the only way that you can rearm the Super Dracos is via an external pin on the ground. Yeah, they are safe on orbit, and you can't use them. Once they disable it, hey, there's a bunch of astronauts chilling over there. Once you disable it, that's it. And these ones are safe. These Super Dracos were safe 6 months ago. They can't work. It's just dead weight at this point.
And I believe we're already in that loss
Franco,
of signal.
no problem, man.
Entry
19
interface
months.
has begun,
And
so
Karen
we'll be
gifted us up
expecting
to
to hear back from the
Sharpank.
crew
Thank you.
in a few minutes.
Did
Yeah, at this point-
did Apollo re-enter from higher speed since it came from a different orbit? So, Nervous, coming back on a trans-Earth injection burn, Apollo basically skipped off the atmosphere. So what they did was they dipped into the atmosphere at a very shallow angle, right, with heat shield pointed down, and they skipped off of it. The idea was to not re-enter all at once to control heating on the heat shield. You didn't want to burn off all your heat shield on the way in. So they went in heat shield down, and then halfway through that first entry interface, they'd flip the capsule 180 degrees to, or no, they'd come in heat shield up, and then they'd flip it to heat shield down, skip off the atmosphere, and then that second EI would be much more like returning from low Earth orbit. They basically bled off all the speed from the moon, so it basically bounced off the atmosphere. Same exact idea as if you throw like a stone and you skip it across water. It's literally like that. Yeah, only just one skip though. So you can't do a 0.75 second deorbit burn, sad face. Yeah, right? Yeah, and Nervous, they have the offset center of mass, just like Dragon does. Dragon's offset COM, so you can change the angle of attack on the heat shield. So if you turn the heat shield down and capsule flies through reentry kind of like this, so you're going this way. Capsule flies like this during reentry. If you roll it, it'll fly like that. And you could use that to set the angle of attack on your heat shield so the capsule can actually generate more or less lift. You could steer the capsule down where it needs to go. That's how capsules have cross-range capability. If you turn 90 degrees, you're going to be like this going through reentry. If you're going like this during reentry, well, you're going to go that way.
Slow the vehicle down
Brandon,
to
give this
about
up to Hibbett. Thanks, man.
350 miles per hour. And hopefully sometime soon as the capsule slows, we'll start to get views from the
Hydroline, what's up?
W-57 that's in the area, as well as potentially from the recovery ship itself.
Okay, we should be getting a reacquisition of signal
But all
in
of the
about
team
4
members
minutes.
are standing by. They arrived on the ship via helicopter today. And then again, the crew will be flown back to land shortly after landing, within pretty much an hour after they splash down. They will be back on solid ground for the first time in 6 months.
Yeah, and you said they go to a health
Sounds hard to fly.
facility after
Computers are
they
doing
come
it,
back,
Clayton.
correct?
Yes, and that's actually on board the boat itself. So they don't have to wait for any health care. And it
Absolutely,
could just be
T-Money.
that maybe they're
Orion's going to do something exactly
feeling
like
the
that.
effects of gravity
I
for
would
the
be
first
motion
time.
sick for sure.
So they're
I mean, you got to think about it. Like, oh, will Orion do that? Will the new capsule do that? Yeah, of course it'll do that. Physics don't change. That's That's like saying, oh, if I add another wheel to a car, will it work better? No, not really. Cars have had 4 wheels for a very long time. There's a reason for that, because that's what works. Sometimes you go with what you know, especially with spaceflight. You want to go with what you're familiar with. You try to eliminate the guesswork.
They're going from 17,500 miles per hour.
28,000 kilometers an hour.
To 350 miles per hour.
You saw it,
so
Joe?
Shield is
cool.
doing lots of work right now.
Weird.
Of course, when we saw the capsule,
I think that's an airplane
the Dragon Endurance docked with the space station, all throughout the last 6 months, it was, you know, this brilliant white. That will not be the case the next time that we see Dragon Endurance. It will certainly come back with charring on it from that thermal protection system doing its job of protecting the structural integrity of the capsule during reentry.
To me, it looks a little bit like a toasted marshmallow.
Absolutely.
Explain fifth wheels and explain
but we
steering
keep
wheels?
the capsule white while on orbit because that helps reflect some of that heat that's coming from the sun. Of course, there's no atmosphere to dissipate any
Should
of
be
that
getting
heat,
a reacquisition signal here very soon.
45 minutes every day, or every rotation.
How many meters per second? Sparks, they have interface at about 7,800 meters a second, give or take. 78, 77. Yeah, right now, Dragon, if it's
only the capsule portion is coming home. So the vehicle's
the capsule's coming out of entry interface.
Everything has
Devlin
moved
already
really
said it, about 4,000 meters a
just
second.
about a minute away until we expect acquisition of signal from the Crew Dragon vehicle.
Yeah.
How hot does it get on the heat shield? 1,600 C, Savage Deck. 6 minutes to splashdown, 35 kilometers at 35 kilometers in altitude, 2.8 kilometers a second. Okay.
Basically pick them up and
should
set
get an
them into
AOS
the
here
nest
from
or the
Core
cradle
here in a second.
On the boat, and then that cradle.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check. Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
Dragon has you, Endurance has you out clear.
Great to hear from you.
I hate that part. I hate that part so much. I hate that part so much. Oh,
so as you just heard, we had confirmation from Commander Raja Chari.
And Dragon, SpaceX, expect automated chute deployment.
Yeah, Ian, we don't do that. We should get a shot from a WB-57 here in a second.
Endurance copy is expecting automated chute deployment. We just found a GPS reacquisition.
Okay, Dragon has a...
We see the same. Expect deployment at standard altitude.
Okay. Dragon has a GPS is locked into Dragon.
Oh! So there's our first
hell yeah!
Dragon Endurance making its re-entry to planet Earth.
6 months in space.
18 kilometers up.
And this is the first time that these crew members
have been
on Earth's atmosphere in that time. As you just heard,
a
we're
little hot
standing
from
by
re-entry
for
there.
drogue parachute deploy, so those 2 drogue chutes. The crew members will probably feel a little bit of
hot.
a jolt as those deploy, but that's why they are strapped into their seats safely. Those custom fitted seats. And after the drogues deploy, it'll slow the capsule to about 350 miles per hour before we see the 4 main parachutes deploy and slow it down to about 15 at the point it'll splash down the ocean off the coast.
Didn't even need to translate that one.
Yeah, now right now, or it may have already happened, the seats that the crew members are in actually automatically rotate to 26 degrees in order to keep the crew within the acceptable G limits for entry and landing. As I mentioned before, if we didn't have these drogue chutes, which they deploy around 18,000 feet, so we're expecting to see those pop out any moment. Without those drogue chutes, we would have to make...
Dragon, SpaceX, brace for drogue window.
Okay. See if we can get the chutes popping here. Okay, so it's going to deploy 2 pilot chutes,
we'd
and
have
that'll slow
to
it down
make
for the main chute
parachutes
deploy.
3 times stronger and heavier.
See?
Expecting those drogues to deploy any moment.
Yeah, see, the infrared
and of course those
capsule's a little
drogues
hot.
deploy automatically, but if needed, the crew can deploy them manually. They have a hardline button in the capsule. It's beneath their display where they monitor the mission.
And of course, after the drogue chutes deploy, we'll see those main parachutes, which help to further decelerate the vehicle and allow it to make a soft landing there in the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh.
Great.
Oh! Got two good inflation on the drogues.
Two healthy drogues there.
And the
Drogues is visual on 2 drogues.
Oh, hell yeah.
Copy, we see
That's
the
so
same.
cool,
This is
man.
phenomenal.
Look at that shot. Oh, there we go.
And if you noticed, as those drogues were
Copy,
deploying,
sorry.
the drogues didn't open up to that full size you saw all the way at first. It's called reefing. They open up more slowly so that it's not as big of a jolt to the capsule and to the parachute system.
That's cool, man.
And again, these
What
will
a
help slow the
shot.
capsule to 350 miles per hour, which still seems fast, but compared to 17,500.
Main chutes.
There
Unfurled.
we can see the
Should
deployment
get 4
of
good
those
shoot
main
inflations here.
parachutes.
Wait for it.
The vehicle's velocity is about 119 miles per hour.
Yeah, SpaceX Dragon, we see 4 chutes, and we could distinctly feel the chute this race. It looks like Donald descent race.
Perfect,
Yeah,
baby.
that reefing action that you just mentioned.
Perfect.
Playing out
Oh,
right
that's
in front
nice.
of us.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
nice.
Raja, we see the same.
Oh, that's so legit, dude.
Excellent.
Oh,
These
so cool. Hell yeah.
4 main parachutes. These are the last big physical change we'll see for Dragon as it continues its descent.
That's cool.
It
4
will
good
slow the
jellyfish,
capsule
right?
down to about 15 miles per hour before splashing down. And teams are in position. They're moving their
chutes
way
bouncing
closer
into
to
each
where
other,
the
guys,
Dragon
it's
will
no
splash
problem. They're
down.
supposed
Again,
to
we'll
do
have
that.
some fast boats that will approach the capsule first, ensure it's safe for the recovery ship to approach. And within an hour of these crew members splashing down on Earth, we expect to see them getting out of the
800 meters.
Copy 800.
800 meters. All right, should be getting a splash here in a moment.
Now, for those that
Could they
might
use
not
5?
be familiar with Dragon itself, over the
They actually only need 3, Clayton. The 4th one is there just in case they have a chute failure. Dragon is heavy, man. It's a very heavy capsule because it brings the service module back down with it.
and
600
they're
meters.
600
Copy
meters.
600.
From Raja, Sarah Gillis reporting.
do that water landing.
Good copy of 600
because
meters. That's the
it's
altitude
simpler,
of the capsule
therefore
here.
more reliable,
600
provides more margin
meters.
against unlikely parachute issues.
Is about
Now, we
2,000
did have
feet,
to make
give or
how
take.
we did have to learn how to make Dragon waterproof, but once you do that, it's very much a
That's right,
rinse,
Brad.
review, reuse type process.
And splashing down is not necessarily a new technique.
400 meters.
400.
Copy 400.
So they're about
400 meters, so
1,300 feet.
getting closer and closer back to planet Earth. But splashing down is also how the Apollo astronauts returned to Earth.
Absolutely.
So this capsule is not dissimilar to this design works very well, I should say.
Chute
The
diameter?
capsule design when it comes to ablating heat as well as protecting crew members,
About 50 feet.
and a very
on
smooth
each
ride
chute,
home
give
so
or take.
far for our astronauts.
200 meters, bracing.
200 meters. So
Copy
they're
200 and bracing.
under 1,000 feet. That's about 600 feet off the ground.
The teams are about 3 nautical miles away from the splashdown site, so it's going to take them a little bit of time to get there
Chutes
in
are
terms of the
cooling
large
off.
vessel, but there is a fast boat, as we call it, that will be able to get to the capsule
Because of the heat, Taj, this is
very,
infrared.
very quickly, as we
Capsule's
will see
still a little
here in
hot.
just a couple of
Parachutes are
moments.
nice and cool, though.
Once again,
Stand by and
all right, as you can see,
good
there
splash,
are
baby! All right!
Dragon
Oh,
Endurance
oh, oh!
during
Endurance, we
Crew-3.
copy. We see the same and main attack.
Whoop! Oh! She tipped a little bit.
Crew has splashed
Passing.
down in the
Thanks,
Gulf of
man.
Mexico off the coast of Florida.
Nice calm waters out there.
So right now, Dragon is
On
active.
behalf of the entire SpaceX team, welcome home. Willkommen auf der Erde. It's been an absolute honor to support you on your mission, Endurance crew, and thanks for flying SpaceX.
That's kick-ass, man.
Thanks, Sarah. We're glad to be back. Thanks for letting us take Endurance on a shakedown cruise. Looking forward to watching many more flights of Endurance in the future.
So the 5 passing, thanks for 10.
A great ride, and enjoyed working with the NASA and SpaceX team. Thanks for getting us to the space station and back safely.
Appreciate the words, Roger.
That's right, Crinkle.
As you can see on your screen, we have that visual confirmation and verbal confirmation for splashdown of the Dragon spacecraft. Dragon Endurance has returned home, and NASA astronauts Raja, Tom, Kayla, and Matthias are back on Earth after a 23.5-hour return journey from space. Now, as I
What keeps it from going under the water? It's airtight, Clayton. Actually, a couple things to notice is the capsule. The capsule's obviously it floats, right? Because it's airtight. It's not going to come back. It's designed to float. But if you look, it's floating to one side. That's because the center of mass on the Dragon capsule, center of gravity, is not exactly in the center of the vehicle. It's kind of shifted to one side. You can see because it's tipping to one side. That actually is for stability during re-entry. They tip the capsule so they can steer it. I was talking about that a little bit earlier, but that's a really good way to point it out. Center of mass is shifted to this side, to the right-hand side here. And that makes it so the hatch is sticking up in the air on the left side. Another cool thing to note is that the main parachute cavity, where the parachutes are stowed, is actually a hatch that's right here, where it's really bright. It's just to the left of that Super Draco nacelle. The hatch pops open, and water actually spills in there. You could see water kind of spilling out of it right there. See? Water actually, when the capsule hits the ocean, right? Water goes into the parachute cavity. You could, like I said, you could see it draining out right there. The reason why it does that is to upright the Dragon to make sure it doesn't flip over. When it dunks into the water, it fills the cavity with water. You can see it right there. And once again, you can see the water coming out. That actually makes it so Dragon will end up balancing upright. It sinks part of the capsule, kind of like a ballast tank on a ship. Hey, Crinkle gifted a sub to Jay. Yeah, that tilt when it landed, Shadow Man, but it tilted, and then the cavity filled with water, and then it went right back up. That's what it's supposed to do. It's really, really smart.
That Dragon does is
you can see Dragon starting to cool off now.
A tiny bit of that ocean water intentionally to help stabilize the capsule. So
Liquidator.
there's a couple of pumps
Thanks,
at the bottom that basically flow a tiny bit of that ocean water.
There's also a ballast system nervous? I didn't know that.
Balloons, basically, to help stabilize the capsule. That allows for the recovery team to make a safer recovery, and also allows the crew to bob around a little bit less while they're in the water waiting. But we can see there that the seas are really fair.
Your boy!
We heard a little while ago, the last reading that we had were half-foot waves, and that looks to be relatively true now.
The kid always copies me.
Yes, I don't know if you could ask for better weather. Just to look ahead at some of the things that are coming.
Stop copying us.
Dragon SpaceX, comm check over the boat link.
Endurance has you loud and clear.
Copy, comm.
Okay.
Looking ahead, after the splashdown, Mission Control Hawthorne can give the go for safe approach, and then the approach boats that we've talked about will begin inspections. They're checking for hypergalls, which are those noxious fumes that can come off the vehicle.
Which one is less turbulent, landing on water or landing on ground? Depends on the engineering.
We will see Dragon be rigged up, which means it'll be ready for pickup once they're...
So Soyuz lands on land. Soyuz's landing is a little bit bumpier, but Clutch, you want to know what's funny? Soyuz has literally explosives packed behind the heat shield. So when Soyuz comes in, it jettisons its heat shield, and then when it gets near the ground, the explosives blow up at the ground. Yeah, true story. Yeah, when Soyuz gets like maybe 5 feet off the ground, it blows up. The bottom of it explodes. I'm dead serious about that. It blows up, and that explosion creates compression. It creates an air pocket, kind of like a hovercraft, below the capsule for maybe a fraction of a second, and that slows it down enough to where it won't hit the ground and destroy itself. So, New Shepard's capsule does the same thing, but instead of explosives blowing up at the ground, there's compressed air. There's a huge can of compressed air in that thing, and it fires right when they get off the ground, and that, once again, leaves a nice air pocket. Starliner, for instance, has airbags around the side. Literally airbags, like the same kind of things that you have in your car. And when it comes back down, it lands on the airbags, and that cushions the landing. Dragon just plops down in the water. It has 4 chutes to land in the water, and the water kind of is your shock absorber because it goes down into the water instead of stopping right at the terrain, right? If Dragon was going to land on land, it'd be a little bit more bumpy than landing in the water. But the water makes the water basically acts as a nice hydraulic damper for when the capsule comes back down. Night T-Money, just don't land in a lake in winter. Yeah, right? It's kind of like an airbag, Clayton. Yeah. So, I mean, Clutch, personally, I like landing on a runway. I like landing where I took off from. So I'm a little bit biased towards the space shuttle. But Starship will also do that, hopefully in the future. I don't know. Just the idea of landing in the water hundreds of miles from where you took off. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to undermine this. That's really freaking cool. I'm really happy about this. This is really neat, man. Here we go. Fast patrol boats there.
A good look there at those fast boats.
Dragon SpaceX, request permission to come on board via display camera view only.
Yep, you guys are welcome on board.
Swift Scout, yeah, maybe a little bit,
Copy that,
dude.
and work.
Now the crew right now
Yeah,
is still in their
soft
seats.
landing
This is similar
motors.
to when you arrive on an airplane.
Yeah, soft landing motors. The Soyuz literally has explosives packed behind the heat shield. It blows up at the ground to cushion the landing. That's the way to put it. They're not soft landing motors. They're just explosives.
But just a look back at yesterday, we saw them undock from the space station and complete a series of departure burns.
Yeah, and the water's cooling it off.
SpaceX Endurance, we've got a tally on recovery lights, and only one complaint is these water bottles are super heavy.
Nice.
Copy that, Raja. We'll work on it.
Those guys are picking up the chutes over there.
Raj, of course, making a
No
gravity
problem,
joke
Clutch.
there.
What if they deny permission to come
for the
aboard?
first time in 6 months, everything has a little more weight to it now that they're back in 1G on Earth. But today we saw them jettison that trunk section and perform.
So check it out here. Up on the checklist, the center screen usually has the checklist or the nav panel on. They don't need the nav panel anymore. Pretty sure they realize that they're on the ground. They have egress, the checklist for egress, for getting out of the capsule. This is all the procedures that you need to do to get out of the capsule. It's mostly just unbuckling your seatbelt and getting out of the capsule. The hatch right there, the egress hatch for when you're down on the surface, is right here. That is different from the docking port that's actually behind these monitors. And you can also see that from the heads-up display view that the capsule's bobbing around in the water. You see a little bit of artifacting going on there. See that? It's bobbing around in the water. You can see it on the MFDs, which is pretty cool.
To prevent wind from pulling on the spacecraft. Dragon then autonomously safes any pyrotechnics that are still present on the vehicle and may automatically perform additional
Dragon
minor
is working
system
how you want. You don't want to
configurations.
change anything.
As Leah mentioned, the astronauts remain
Right,
seated.
Scout? It's
in,
pretty much
in
that.
their
It's not a long
seats, and
checklist,
they keep
dude.
their
Look,
suits
it's 3
on,
steps.
But the
See?
onboard
1,
air
2, and
conditioning
3.
keeps the temperatures in check inside the spacecraft.
There's a subset right there on the 3rd step. I don't know what that says. I can't read it.
So the crew can continue to communicate and make
What's that word again?
funny
Heavy.
jokes.
And of course, this is a view inside the capsule, so you can see Raja there
Nice,
on the
Larkspur.
left.
That's cool.
has
I've seen those
taken off
explosive
his
make clouds of
gloves,
dust or
still
dirt
has
when
his
they go
suits
off.
on, and has been
Right
able
on.
to raise his visor. This
Thanks
is
for
their
flying,
first time
SpaceX,
back on
that's
Earth
right.
in 6 months, and they're just still monitoring the area around them.
No,
We heard them say
Clayton,
that they had sights on.
The screens don't move out of the way. The screens are facing the front of the capsule. So the screens are facing... We're looking... This camera is mounted right here on the capsule, looking that way. And the screens are... Oh, drone footage. And the screens are right here. They're right there. The seats in Dragon, they're facing this way right now. They rotate. The seats rotate 90 degrees down so they can get out the hatch to the side. Because Dragon's facing that way, right? And the hatch is that way. So the seats actually rotate, dude. It's really freaking cool. It's some beam me up Scotty stuff, man. Really freaking cool.
The capsule for water recovery by the
We've never
recovery
seen a
ship.
shot like that before.
Meanwhile, this second fast boat, which you can see in the background, is responsible
Checklist is
for
really-
parachute recovery, and it also serves as a redundant
Checklist
boat
is really
to the
just
first.
do not
We love
move and let
having
the
a backup
recovery
for
crew remove
everything.
you from the vehicle.
And we'll also see a team member on a
Okay.
jet ski helping to gather up the now detached parachutes.
Oh, God. chaotic picture. No,
As
I don't
we
like
said,
that.
The recovery vessel
Oh,
Shannon,
look at these
it's making
shots,
its
man.
way.
They're so
it's
crisp.
not as fast as the fast boats. So, but what the folks are doing there on the fast boat, whenever they begin, whenever they do the initial approach,
Yeah, look at that.
they
Inside of a
actually
spaceship.
perform tests to make sure that the hypergolic propellants,
Literally a
the
reminder, do not
vapors from
move
those
until your
propellants
medical
are not
survey
present.
is- yep.
So the monomethyl hydrazine and the nitrogen tetroxide, MMH and NTO, are toxic if you breathe them
Yeah,
in.
they're
And so
sniffing
the
it.
crew, the first thing they do when they arrive, they are wearing safety geared so that they are
Guys getting
not
another
breathing
shoot
anything.
there.
And they have a device that is performing checks to see if any of those hypergolic vapors are present. When they get the all clear, then they're able to further, the recovery process. It'll take a little over 10 minutes for the recovery crew to complete those safety checks. Once complete, the team will begin preparing Dragon to
You
be
guys pulling
lifted
out all the parachutes
into the
there?
recovery vessel. As part of the preparation for this lift, one member of the recovery team will actually climb on top of the capsule so that they can attach Dragon's hoist rings and connect the lifting rings. That's always really fun to see. I promise you the amount of training that individual goes through is
All right, Devin.
quite extensive.
See ya.
Wow, that's a great
Whoa!
view. Not thermal
Yeah.
this time.
Look at how
Beautiful
blue the
colors
water
there
is in Florida,
with
man.
the various lights that we have going on. You have a better view.
Man,
The
the ocean
individual
near my
that
house don't look like
is
that.
actually on Dragon capsule now. That's the person I was just talking about that will be attaching
The ocean near my
Dragon's
house don't
hoist
look like
rings
that.
and connect the lifting lines. So it'll take us less than an hour to
hey,
raise
guy.
Dragon to the recovery boat and remove the crew from the spacecraft.
What?
As Leah mentioned before, there's very standard
what's going
medical
on there?
checkouts.
What's
The
going on
crew
there?
will return to land
Hey, guy.
within 4 hours by helicopter.
Oh, the
if
ship's
no
backing
additional
into
medical
position.
assistance
That's
is
what it
needed,
is.
the crew
These are the
will
guys
board
up on the
a waiting
recovery
NASA
ship.
plane and depart for Houston. Now for Matthias, the European Space Agency has a plane that will take him to Europe. So he really has a much further journey
Yes.
to get home.
Those European
Boy, down in
flights are
front.
a little bit longer.
Yeah. Once
And-
again, that's a live view inside Dragon
Rickety
Endurance.
Dragon SpaceX, hypergolf sweeps and unfired ordnance checks were nominal. Rigging is in progress.
Okay.
Approximately 7 minutes until capsule lift. Stand by for a PMC with the SpaceX flight surgeon.
They're not leaking any propellants, any of the toxic hypergols, so
Dragon copies. Checks are complete with about 7 minutes to lift and stand by for PMC.
okay, everything's good. Everything seems to be nice here. It seems to be good here. You don't want to get near the capsule. Those propellants, if they're leaking,
And that person
you're
on
gonna
the
get real
outside of the
sick.
capsule was
So-
rigging the capsule, preparing for it to be lifted onto Shannon, the recovery ship, which is getting closer and closer
Not
to
that
picking
PM.
up the
No, they don't-
vehicle.
no.
We do have a NASA Public Affairs
They're
officer
doctors.
from Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. That's on the ship tonight as well.
Dragon, the next call will be on Dragon to ground private with the surgeon.
Yeah, flight surgeons. Their personal medical correspondent. Oh yeah, Badger, that's the best part.
The Corps calling to the crew that they would have a private call, so we won't hear it here on the loops with the flight surgeon. That's someone that they can discuss how they're feeling with ahead of those checks that they'll get on the boat. But as I was mentioning, we
surgeon
have
sounds cooler,
Shaniqua
Swishio.
Vereen of NASA from Johnson Space Center.
And break, stand by. I believe we are not privatized.
You aren't, they are.
And again, they want to make sure they privatize those loops. It's like going to the doctor's office. It's not necessarily everybody's business.
Yep.
So we have Shaniqua Vereen of NASA from Johnson Space Center on the recovery vessel tonight. Like I said, I got the opportunity to do this, and I wonder if she had the same experience as me. So there might be a bit of a
HIPAA
delay.
time.
She's dialing in to speak with us from
Yeah,
a
you're
satellite phone, being that they are in the middle of the Gulf
Yeah,
of Mexico off the
Shaniqua's out
coast
on-
of Tampa.
out on
So just
the
checking
recovery
in,
ships.
Shaniqua, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you, Leah. Hi, how are you guys today?
Cool.
We are fantastic, and thank you so much for
Nice
joining
shot
us
of a
today.
boat. It's my boat.
No problem, Leah. Tonight has been nothing short of magical. Just a short while ago, the recovery team and I watched Crew-3 Endurance as it entered the atmosphere. We also heard those 2 sonic booms as the crew prepared for their splashdown just a few minutes later.
Not bad for a sat phone.
We've had beautiful weather and flat and calm seas. It's about 78 degrees here, and it's been just, again, magical. We had dolphins basically jumping and swimming alongside the boat before we right before the crew splashed down.
And Shaniqua,
you and Kate mentioned preparations for the medical team. There is SpaceX medical.
I was hoping you could.
Sorry, go ahead, Leah.
Yeah, I was hoping you could tell us more about some of the preparations that have taken place to get the crew to this point.
Yeah, I banned it, right?
Yes, so preparations have been pretty much going on all day. We've had 2 different teams come out at different times, making sure the boat was prepared, as well as some medical bays for the crew, as you guys mentioned. They'll get checked out as soon as they egress the spacecraft. They also deployed weather balloons in advance to gauge whether or not the wind speeds and such were ready for Crew-3 to come through. So there's been a lot of preps here, and splashdown was very nominal. And yeah, just a beautiful sight. We saw it streak across the sky.
It's cool.
Well, Shaniqua, thank you so much for joining us from Shannon, the recovery ship out off the coast of Tampa in the Gulf of Mexico, with a live view in person of Crew-3's return to Earth, the first time in 6 months that these astronauts have been back to our home planet.
Must have been so cool to be able to hear the double sonic boom from re-entry and to just see it streaking through the sky. Now, being on board, Shannon, she was about 3 nautical miles away from the splashdown site, and it sounds far, but it's not.
No, and at nighttime, I know it's a little more difficult for
it's actually really
depth
close.
perception.
Well, that, and for the crew on the ship itself to be able to see the parachutes. I wasn't able to see them whenever they were coming down.
That makes sense.
You definitely get a special view here on the webcast because we have those thermal cameras that can pick up on the vehicle.
It's just to check up lavits.
Outside.
You don't want to start moving around, dude, especially after you've been up in space for 6 months. The reason why is because even though the astronauts work up there, they work out 2 hours a day. You're still going to suffer from a little bit of muscle atrophy. Literally, you're not using your legs. So your heart really doesn't like that when you come back down here and you try to stand up. It's something that you haven't done in a little while. You ever spend a little bit of time away from working out and then you go and work out and then everything freaking hurts? Kind of the same idea. But to a 6th month degree, like, can you imagine just being bedridden for 6 months? It's kind of the same thing. You don't want your heart to work. That's why they take them out on stretchers, because you can get out and your heart will be like, oh crap, I gotta pump all the blood to these muscles, and I gotta pump all this blood to your muscles, and you could go into cardiac arrest from being out of Earth's grav well, and coming back down for too long. Your heart will go into overdrive, and that doesn't end well. If you redline this thing, you redline the ticker, it doesn't work. It doesn't like that. Yeah. Science. Yeah, it doesn't like that. So, you don't want to really move around a lot. You don't want to use your legs. Well, that being said, some astronauts have. Like when Mike Hopkins on Crew-1, when they pulled him out, he stood up. He's like, yeah, I'm good. I got this, and just walked away. I mean, some people can take it better than others, Are you going to cover the next launch? Of course, dude. Is there a double sonic boom from one capsule? Heat shield and... Yeah, you'd hear twins from that one, 619. Heat shield and probably the nacelles from the Super Dracos. It would probably be boom, boom. Big first one, little light second one. It's not like the shuttle. You literally can't move enough oxygen for your muscles and your legs to hold you up. So your heart will just go to try and make up for it. And you could have a heart attack. That's why they're like, sit there, Don't do anything. We'll take you out on a stretcher. Because they want to put him through a checkup. They want to check their blood pressure, make sure that you're good to go, because you don't want to risk that. You don't want to come back from 6 months of space, get out, survive this entire crazy mission, get out and be like, ugh! You don't want that to happen. So they go through, they basically have a physical. There's a little doctor's office on board the recovery ship, and they have, well, their flight surgeons there, and they talk to them, and they give them all a physical and check their blood pressure to ensure a clean bill of health. So, and then you can walk around, but it's still, you still don't want to walk around too much. That gets really tiring really fast, from what I understand. I've talked to a lot of people that have been into space. Coming back down is a pain in the butt. Your body, it takes like a week or two to readjust to being in the grav well, which is weird. It's cool. That's kind of cool though, because your body, when you're up in space, it adjusts. It adjusts to being in space, and then when you come back down, it adjusts back to being down on the ground, which is it's kind of weird. There's some like missing link stuff going on there, but it automatically does it. It's very strange. Did they keep them overnight? NASA will keep an eye on them, Clayton. They'll have a couple of exit physicals over the next week or so. Yeah, just to be absolutely sure. I get tired walking around already. Yeah, I know what you mean.
The capsule, that will all be attached to the recovery vessel, and the hydraulic lift.
It's a freaking beast, Warrens. This thing is
the water.
This thing is awesome.
Into the
so
cradle
freaking
or the
cool.
nest,
What a machine this is.
Which we will hopefully get a view of soon once we're able to bring you back from.
Warrens, SpaceX has rapid iterative design. The human body has been rapidly iterated on for millions of years. It's a pretty good version, if I do say so myself. Pretty good version, if I do say so myself. Got a couple million years of iterative design. Really makes a good system. Very adaptable.
Recovery ship, Shannon, and placed in that nest before it's pulled to the egress or exit platform.
I'd let my body design stuff. Yeah, there's a couple of flaws here and there, but
the crew, that'll be the first friendly face they see.
Oh, here we go.
In real life, besides their other fellow astronauts for the first time in 6 months. They'll do a quick check to make sure everyone's feeling okay, and then each crew member will be
What a
helped
shot
out.
from NASA.
So just a moment ago, we had a very quick glance from Shannon, our recovery vessel that is preparing. There's that view again, so we can see Dragon Endurance in the background with the fast boats. Probably my very favorite moment will be coming up momentarily. The individual that is actually there on the side of Dragon capsule, they will most likely be at the top part when this thing happens, but we'll actually see them jump off and back into the water.
See, Kate knows. Watch this dude. This guy's going to go up. He's going to make sure all the rigging is detached from the parachutes and make sure that the A-frame rigging is attached, and then the guy goes yeet off the side of the capsule. It's the coolest job ever.
It's a little night swim.
Yeah, not in my brain. But that individual that you see there, they're currently putting all of the required harnesses and rigging onto the Dragon capsule.
Yep.
And then that will, of
they
course,
lift Dragon up and they put it on that donut right there.
From that hydraulic lift. Again, this is our first good view of Dragon Endurance from Shannon itself.
It's a big donut.
And these few people that you see down
Forlorn Dragon is pregnant
on the ship, these are highly trained as well to execute this maneuver. So anyone else on the ship that has flown in today, including any medical personnel, any NASA personnel like we spoke with Shaniqua, they are watching from a distance to allow this team to do their job in bringing the capsule up and setting it down.
So they're going to lift the capsule up, they're going to set it down on this, but the cool thing about that bumper is that it's actually on a track. If you see, there's a little groove in it. There's a track, so they'll lift Dragon up, they'll place it down on the pineapple slice. That's what SpaceX calls it. They call it the pineapple slice. They're going to lift it up, and they're going to place it down on that, and that whole thing with Dragon moves, and it actually moves into like not an interior area, but it moves into a it moves up to a gantry that has a platform that's aligned with the hatch, so they can easily pull astronauts out.
Even on the recovery vessel.
Oh, 100%. We were not allowed near them once it became time for them to egress. Actually, we moved into the galley.
The rigging line.
Don't
miss.
Looks like your team member's about to take his night swim.
You missed the line.
But,
Oh, that's the
we
coolest
stayed
job
in the galley
ever.
While,
That is the coolest job ever.
The astronauts
I want that job.
Helped out of the vehicle. They moved straight into those medical personnel rooms. It's very restricted on
it's a
who
carport.
is
Yeah, there you go.
able
doing
to
trains tomorrow
be near
too?
them. Of course, everyone
Ian,
is
you want to play some
masked.
trains after
They've
this?
been in this
Trains
somewhat
after this?
pristine environment for about
did
6
build it in
months. Not a lot
KSP.
of exposure to bacteria, and so any sort
or
of
even pollens, allergies.
Right, exactly. So any sort of
Yes.
sickness, we want to prevent them from getting when their immune systems might be a little bit compromised after that 6 months in
What you think
space.
the pay is? I don't know. They're definitely raking some hazard pay, Aiden.
Yeah. Now, in the past,
No,
we have seen
Megan, of course you can.
that
Don't mind
person
at all.
who, at times, just because the capsule is so brightly lit and the wetsuit
Oh, moving the
is super
A-frame into
dark,
position.
it kind of reminds me of a spider traversing back and forth across the vehicle.
Spoderman!
And in the past, we've seen that individual climb up a little bit higher on the capsule prior to jumping off. But I just want to give a little perspective here. It's only because of the bright lights. You know, of course, for safety reasons, we want to have the area well lit during these operations. So the capsule looks like it is still that pristine white color. I promise you, it is not. We've definitely got a floating toasted marshmallow there.
We built the A-frame in
Gulf of
KSP.
Mexico.
We could build it better nowadays, dude, with the hydraulics.
And there are multiple lines
build it way
attached
better.
to the vehicle so that when it's lifted, it's not just
Hello, Soda
dangling
Dragon.
from
No big
one
deal.
line. These help keep it stable and upright.
Rope is fairly high technology. You know what the thing is, Rickety? Like, I get it. You're making a joke, and you're right. Like, oh yeah, this super advanced billion-dollar capsule is getting pulled up by a damn rope. You know what the funny thing is? With rocket science, dude, there's a lot more simple solutions like this than you might think. It seems like rocket science is this crazy abstract concept, right? But no, you'd be surprised how simple something is like this. Like, okay, I'll take the space shuttle. The wheels on the space shuttle when it landed on the runway. You'd think it's some crazy, super awesome alloy, that like special rubber, not alloy, it's like a special rubber that's designed for, no, they're just Michelin tires, dude. They're straight up Michelins. Straight up. They're just Michelin airplane tires for the most part. It's all, why would you use something different? Just use a damn airplane tire. It's what it's designed to do. It's always something stupid like that. Like, you wouldn't be, that's just a regular, I mean, like, that's just a steel cable. It's just any other type, like a run-of-the-mill steel cable. How much duct tape do you think is used on Dragon? I don't know. Oh, here we go. Guy hooks the rigging up. Gives the
So
okay.
This person's about to make their
Ready?
egress from the capsule momentarily.
Yeet! Woohoo!
There we go. Alonzi.
Dragon SpaceX, brace for capsule lift.
That's right, Aiden. They were not solid. No, they were purged. They
My heart
purged
rate went up a little bit
Dingleberg
just
with
envisioning
nitrogen.
having to do what that person
Like
just
most
did
airplane tires.
Oh, sign me
in the
up.
seawater at night. Oh man.
And here we
Here
go.
we go.
Crew Dragon
Lift.
Endurance being lifted onto the Shannon recovery vessel.
Fix the tagline. See? Look. See how the parachute compartment has some water in it for balance? See that? Is the water warm? It's 78 degrees.
Pretty cool
Right
view
now.
there of the heat shield. Now
78 degrees in Florida right now. That's what Shaniqua said the ambient temperature was. I'm going to go ahead and guess the water's pretty dang warm. 78 degrees Fahrenheit W is about, what, 22, 23 C at night? That should tell you how warm Florida is. It's real warm.
the side hatch, the drogue parachutes are
No,
located
it's
in the
perfect.
bays. above
Florida
the
nights are
side hatch.
perfect, dude. I'm telling
That's
you.
a great view, as you mentioned, of the side hatch.
Look
so when
at
they
this
place
shot,
Dragon in
though.
the nest,
Look
as they're
at
preparing
this.
To do now, they will pull
man.
it closer to an egress platform because this is significantly high off the ground, maybe 10 feet off the ground. So there's an egress
What a
platform
shot.
that is level with the
Bring it
side
down.
hatch. That way it makes it easier for us to help
go.
the crew members out of the capsule.
That's right, Goku. Very humid. You're going to see a lot of condensation coming off the Formula One car's wings when they're driving around in Florida because it's humid as hell down there.
Capsule will be centered and oriented, as you can see, and then
It's supposed
Dragon
to,
will
Astro.
be moved to that
Juicy.
hangar
3 months.
underneath the
Thanks,
helipad
buddy.
on the ship. Yes, that will prepare us to open the hatch.
Yep. See how they have the tag lines on a pulley right there so they can just pull to center the capsule so it doesn't move left to right? They got to get the hatch lined up with the gantry. Now, watch. They'll...
There we can see Dragon Endurance
Dragon SpaceX, welcome aboard the recovery vessel.
They'll
Recovery
undo the rigging
personnel
here?
are completing the final checks. Stand by for translation to the egress platform.
Plug in the thrusters right there.
First copy, standing by.
Those are thruster plugs right there to
Great view there. We can see that Dragon
prevent foreign
Endeavour
object debris from
is
going
now safely on our recovery
That's awesome,
vessel,
dude.
Shannon.
What a shot!
This is a view from the helipad itself, so the vehicle will be pulled under this
sneaky.
platform
If we had cables,
to
that'd be
where,
game
like I
over.
mentioned, it'll be level with that egress platform, or I should say the...
So these right there, those are parachute mortars, guys. They literally have a mortar that shoots some of the parachutes out. That's for the drogue chutes. They shoot the drogue chutes out of a mortar because the capsule's going really fast. If you try to deploy a capsule going too fast, it will just snap right off. Or it'll get caught on something. So the two mortars shoot the two drogue chutes out the side. And then they attach right there, and then the main chutes go through parachute rigging down the sides of the capsule, and the main chutes, all four of those chutes fit in that hatch right there.
To connect to the space station, our astronauts will egress from Dragon's side hatch, which we see there.
You're a leaky
Before
fuel bandit.
Opening the hatch, the spacecraft's cabin pressure must be equalized with the outside environment. Once the hatch is opened, that will be the crew's
lucky
first breath
Clayton.
of fresh air since boarding Falcon 9 at the start of their mission back in November of last year.
I can only imagine how good that will feel.
Guy's gonna undo the
And
rigging here.
you mentioned that the pressure will need to be equalized to that outside. We try to keep the pressure on the space station and on Crew Dragon similar to what you would experience at sea level on Earth. That's about 14.7 pound or psi pound per square inch.
I do not leak.
So hopefully
You
it
leak.
wouldn't take too much maneuvering or tweaking for the
Pretty damn good material science.
pressure inside to match that outside. But it's important to note that Raja, Tom, Kayla, and Matthias will be getting assistance from the recovery teams when exiting the capsule. This is the same process for any returning long-duration crew members.
Look at the onboard displays for Dragon. The onboard displays are really confused because the Dragon is pointing straight up, but it's the boat's moving around in the water, and the displays are like, I don't know how to display this to you. See, it's just like.
And if you've watched crews return
Fast,
on a
44
Soyuz
months.
spacecraft, this is the same process as when astronauts are carried from the capsule
it's some
to
origami
chairs that
couch
are
for
waiting
sure.
for them, and then they're carried to a waiting medical tent. This is also the time period where any of the time-critical
Right,
cargo can be recovered from the spacecraft, and the remainder can wait until the ship is back in port. So like I mentioned, those samples that are in the polar freezers, those refrigerated samples, those are taken off at this time as well for quicker transport back to the researchers on land. So once the ship and capsule return
they got the
to
rigging
land, the
undone.
recovery
Watch.
team
Dragon's gonna
can
go that
do
way.
additional
It's on a
inspections
track.
before loading Dragon on a flatbed truck at the SpaceX facility in Cape Canaveral for post-processing.
It's a great shot.
We have a great view of Dragon there, positioned in the nest. We're just waiting to see it
I
translated
mean, look at the people down there.
or moved back
it's
to
a really good way to show how
the
big that
platform
capsule
where
is.
the
It's
crew
not
will
small.
egress.
I mean, 4 people can fit in it.
I want to mention one thing. You know, we have a great view, but we
39 times
we can't
for
hear
Discovery,
anything
nervous.
that's going on with the recovery vessel. And something I never thought of
You got some big shoes to
in
fill.
terms of the recovery vessel are also the smells. So I was actually out
Tracks
at
right there on
Cape
the left.
Canaveral for work this week, and I had the opportunity
That's right,
to
Forlorn.
visit the Axiom 1 capsule that just splashed down about a week and a half ago in our in Dragonland, our buildings where we process our Dragon capsules. And something that really surprised me, I don't know why, I should have thought of this,
great
but
shot, Bandit.
Leah, you can probably comment on this because you were on the recovery vessel. The Dragon capsule, you know, it did just re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. It does have an odor to it. There's I can't quite
Yeah, Dado, right? It's
I
pretty
couldn't
cool.
figure out how to describe it. It's
Where's the
not
track?
quite chemically. One of my teammates actually said that it smelled like charred bamboo.
Okay.
And I can't say I've ever smelled that, so I personally
Hey,
can't
look,
verify.
some of the NASA logo is still there.
It's
See that?
in their
Worm.
fresh air there. But in any case, yeah, it's just kind of interesting to think all of the various things that are going on with this recovery vessel, all the operations that are going on. And one thing that we'll actually see them do prior to opening the hatch is we'll see them do another safety check to make sure, to make sure that those hypergulls still are not, releasing any vapors, to make sure that it is safe to open up that side hatch before getting our crew members out.
Yep.
And it looks like they are finishing hooking the nest up to those lines that'll help them pull it toward the egress platform. I wish I could have gotten close enough to try and determine what that smell might be. I was hoping to when I was thinking about it while I was there.
Okay, here we go. Should start moving here in a second.
We stayed, a safe distance away from the capsule, and of course, being in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, there's only a little bit of salt water, so that was an overpowering smell itself.
You probably smell more fish than anything else.
Maybe so, but yes, we are getting pretty close now to seeing our astronauts.
All right, here we go. Should start moving here in a second. Cable's almost pulled taut.
Taking their first breath of fresh air after 6 months in space. But again, it's interesting that
this is Flaming
your colleague
Dragon.
mentioned it smelled like. Oh,
there it goes. Oh, that was quick.
Super quick.
All right, that was a lot faster than what it usually is. And
it looked like the capsule was being hosed down a little bit just to get some of that salt water.
That was really fast. No, it's usually not that quick.
That bay at the top there is where the drogue parachutes are stored, and then the bay at the bottom underneath the side hatch is where the main parachutes were stored.
Okay, here we
are
in the Dragon's Nest.
It's a pretty compact space. It's a
washing it down with
parachutes go
fresh
through
water
a
right
very
there.
thorough and well-checked packing process before they are actually stored in those bays.
And the person in the middle helping to properly park Crew Dragon exactly where they want it to be for that hatch.
All right, here we go. Get the rigging out of the way.
Like you see on a runway with airplanes.
Exactly.
And now what they're going to do here is the hatch is two part. What they got to do is they got to repressurize the O-rings on the hatch with a pneumatic gun, and then you got to detorque the bolts. Once you detorque the bolts and you depressurize the seal, actually you have to repressurize it. The seal is that vacuum in there. That's that hatch right there. So if you look at the top right there, that's that. That camera is looking back this way. These cameras are almost basically looking at each other. They have to take off the outer latch, and then they have to repressurize the seal. In fact, I don't know if they even repressurize it. They might, just to be sure. And then untorque the main latch. They'll use a torque wrench to do it.
It's for their standard checkouts, their standard post-mission,
that's the outer
splashdown
right
checkouts with the SpaceX
so what's your
flight
job?
Surgeon. And then after that, they hop on a helicopter and they get to head back to land.
All right, there's the outer latch. Guys turning it now.
And this view on the left, again, that's still inside Crew Dragon.
How do they manage to reuse the capsule? They recoat the outer shields on this with more thermal protection warns. And then the whole shield detaches as one subassembly. Think of it like, I don't know. The whole heat shield basically pops off with a couple of bolts. So the heat shield pops off, and then they'll take all these panels off, and they'll recoat them. And you reuse the capsule. Repack the chutes, clean it all up, paint new logos on it, send it back, get it a new trunk, and send it right back to the launch site. They will. Okay, so right now they're sniffing for leaks.
Dragon SpaceX, stand by for side hatch opening and egress.
He's sniffing around to make sure none of those propellants, the hypergolic propellants, are leaking out. Sniff checks look good. See how they have the gas masks on?
All right.
We can see the crew there taking off their PPE.
Yeah, pretty much warns, kind of like an engine. Yeah, it just pops off. Easy to take off.
The area is cleared of those hypergulls that the fast boats were
exactly,
aiming to
Larkspur.
detect,
Yeah, you got it.
They got some secondary checks once on board this vehicle as well.
Okay, now they should roll the gurney in here in a second. There's the press. SpaceX
and again, the first person
photographers.
that you'll see peek their head into the capsule will be the medical
Okay, anybody that's
officer,
wearing
making
blue
sure that everyone's feeling
is
well,
an astronaut.
and the crew members will be assisted out one by one.
See how those guys got the blue flight suits on? That's a good
checks.
indicator of an astronaut. I'm trying to see who's there. I can't tell who that is on the far left. Is it Johnny Kim? Is that Johnny Kim? That might be Johnny Kim, the most legendary.
We had splashdown only 40 minutes
ever.
ago, so in that time we have been able to lift and
I
prepare
can't tell.
the
It's kind of a
capsule
weird angle.
for these astronauts to egress.
Yeah, Johnny Kim hasn't even flown into space and he's still a legend.
Right now they're just wiping
Dude,
down
hasn't
the
even
areas
flown into
around
space.
the side hatch that might still be a little wet from splashdown.
Yeah, there you
Just wanna
go,
make
Ian,
sure
right?
that when the side hatch is opened and we install the protective fittings, that everything is dry, just to eliminate any possibility that nobody slips or anything.
Oh, there we
whenever
go.
they are
Outer
making
seal is
their way
open.
out.
Now they didn't
There we can
depressurize
see
the
the
seal.
side
They just
hatch
depress
is
it when they
open.
open the hatch. There we go.
Some applause from team members on board.
Well, the pilot on this mission liquidator
That's
is Tom
their first friendly
Marshburn.
face
So
that they've gotten to see in person.
here we
In
go.
6
Look at
months, aside from their
that.
crewmates on the
First person in
International
is the
Space
doctor,
Station.
making sure everybody's okay. Johnny deserved to go on Artemis
The
3.
white fixture
I
that
want
we
him and
saw,
Victor Glover
just moments
for
ago,
my
they're now
Artemis 3
placing
crew.
into the side hatch. This is just a protective cover to make sure that whenever the crew members are egressing, that
They put the
they
cover
don't
on the
bump
hatch seal.
anything
It is the
around
dream
the
team,
hatch
David.
that
Like you
protects
did, it
not
doesn't
only
get better
the
than those
Dragon
two,
capsule
man.
itself, but also them.
I agree, Astro. Yep. Is there a fantasy launch league? I don't know, but there should be.
Most of you know, we do reuse our Dragon capsules, so making sure that we avoid any damage during
Vic's the man.
the ingress and egress process.
And I like Vic a lot. He's a cool dude.
And again, it's been less than an hour since this crew splashed down, about 45
Jessica
minutes
Meyer,
now.
yep.
And
Christina Cook. That would be the
once
dream
they
team right there,
are
man.
helped out of the vehicle, they'll move to those medical bays.
Dude, that's a really
And
talented
within really
bunch of
about
people,
an hour
dude.
of
Oh my
them
God.
being
you know, I
helped out
made
of
my
the
bed
vehicle,
today,
they will
Ian,
be
so
loaded
there.
onto the helicopter and brought back to land. So again, it's a very expedient process of
Couch, if you want to go look at Johnny Kim's resume, yeah. Only do that if you really want to feel insignificant about your life. Yep. Yep.
That is affirmed, Dragon. We are imminently going to be powering off the bilge pump. Stand by.
Okay.
some of the things being passed out of the
I agree,
spacecraft
Ian.
now are those tablets that you could see earlier.
Flight checklist tablets coming out.
That the astronauts use to monitor the procedures while they are
like I love my job, right? I love my job, and then I see his resume. I'm like, wow, I suck. Damn, damn. Well, all right.
We've got a couple of other NASA astronauts on board there. You can see them in their blue flight suits.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Space is cool, Dano. Hell yeah. All right, doctor's coming out. They should be rolling the gurneys in here in a second.
You might notice that the touchscreen looks a little different now than it did whenever the crew was on orbit. The seats have actually rotated since
you a photographer?
they were on orbit. This is
space
to
flight
allow
correspondent.
for their bodies to be in a better ergonomic position in preparation for the dynamic parts of
maybe a little on the internet.
Downward. This allows it allows the crew to get in and out a little bit easier.
And we also give the opportunity to photographers to get a couple of images.
Oh, geez, don't bump your head on that. Oh, I hope that person's all right.
From their space flight. For 3 of them, it was their
bumped
first
their head on the
space
hatch.
flight.
That hurts.
And then for
okay?
Tom Marshburn, who has
camera
experience, this was his 3rd space flight. But while on orbit, all of these astronauts got to complete at least 1 spacewalk on the International Space Station.
Ananova, just got to keep trying for it.
Next, we should
that's something that ain't something that's going to get given to you.
Detach the footrest.
Hard work is what gets you there.
To give a little bit more space for the
he has enough
astronauts
hair. He's
to
fine.
make their exit.
Hatch scratch fever. Bow, bow, down. All right. I'm not sure if that's Johnny Kim or not. I can't really tell. I don't think it is. Maybe. I mean, maybe. Who knows? He got 2 shoes on. He'll be fine. All right, that's fair. I love how we can see out the hatch from the capsule view here, and you can see the people moving around that are in this shot. And it's like, oh, dude, there's 2 cameras pointed at the same thing, and they can both see the same thing. No, but one's inside of a spaceship. All right, that makes that cool. Okay, that makes that cool.
You can see that white protective fitting there, protecting.
Doug Hurley smashed his head on the CBM
the
when during DM2 in Nova.
We got a good view of that and where that was installed now.
Yeah, right, Tipsy? Dragon's pretty big. I've seen one of them up close. They're pretty big.
Team's just speaking with the
I'm
crew
with you, Bill.
members.
I'm with you.
As I mentioned, we saw the tablets
Never heard
being
anything.
removed.
Be the squeaky
we
wheel,
saw
Anna.
some photos
You gotta be the
being
squeaky
taken.
wheel.
We have also.
Because
and
remember,
there goes
there's
those-
probably
there go
2,000
the
3,000 other
footrest,
people trying to do the same thing
that are
as you.
used
You
on
really
orbit.
got to get on the
Will make it
radar.
much
You have to be
easier
an
for them to
overachiever a little bit. I know plenty of
help out
people
the
that work there.
vehicle.
You really got to work.
They can actually remove the footrest as well once they are in space. Gives them a little more room to float around.
And sleep.
And sleep, that's true.
Yeah, Ricky. Yeah, like I said, don't look up Johnny Kim's
Those of
resume
you
unless
that
you want
have
to feel
joined
bad
us
about yourself.
recently, the Crew-3 crew has
Why are there astronauts
splashed
on the
down
recovery
off
ship?
the coast of Tampa, Florida.
They could be flight
Our
surgeons
recovery
too,
vessel
Swishio.
Shannon has picked them up
I don't see your
out of
last
the water,
W at all.
and we can see their
liability insurance
the
covers spacecraft,
teams
sure.
are preparing to assist the crew as they exit or egress the capsule.
That splashdown coming right on time at 9:43 p.m. Pacific, 12:43 a.m. Eastern
cool.
Time, off the coast of Tampa, Florida, in the Gulf
No,
of
I don't
Mexico.
think it's him. Somebody said the UAE astronaut. I think you might be right. Okay, they're unbuckling him now. What is it like to sleep in space?
The journey home is.
You ever fall asleep floating around in a pool, Clayton?
Not
Kinda
quite
like that.
over for these astronauts. Even though they are back on Earth,
You just
they
sit there.
will be
Your arms
helped
just
out
do
of
this.
the
You just kind of.
Crew Dragon vehicle. They will have some routine medical checks done before they are loaded onto
Astronauts,
a
Rashida?
helicopter.
Dragon SpaceX, can you confirm that the audio is improved?
Yeah, Bandit. He's pretty much a BAMF. Oh, there's the gurneys.
Endurance? Yes, that's much better, thanks.
Yep, Ozzy, they came down. Everything looked good. We got some really
Sure
nice
thing. Sorry for
views.
the delay.
Go back and look. Trust me on that one.
Sounds like that
Yeah,
was
Rickety,
the voice
he's
of
basically a
mission
BAMF.
specialist Kayla Barron.
I'm pretty sure BAMF is like written
We
on
can
his
see
wallet
that
or something.
the slide has been put in place. This helps the astronauts gently make their exit from the capsule.
He's so qualified, even Dolph Lundgren says, damn.
Once again, the Crew-3 crew has splashed down after spending a total of 177 days in space.
I don't think so, Jay.
175
He's not overqualified.
of
He's
those
qualified
days
to command
on the
missions that
International
go to the
Space
moon.
Station.
That's what I'd say. I mean, if you look at some of the
Quite a
Apollo
lot
astronauts'
during their
resumes,
stay
you'd be
on
like,
the space station, including
Okay.
the arrival of 8 visiting vehicles. That includes the Axiom 1 crew just a couple of weeks ago, as well as the Crew-4 crew just last week.
you have to be an astronaut. That's where the bar is set. The astronauts need to be the best of the best. You can't be an idiot. You have to be smart. All right, NV, see ya.
Crew today consisting
stuff.
of European Space Agency astronaut Matthias
There you go,
Marr
Astro.
and NASA astronauts Raja Chari, Tom Marshburn, and Kayla Barron. Chari and Barron were part of the same astronaut selection class, so they've done everything from training together all the way through their first space flight together.
That's really cool. They were the turtles, right?
They were the turtles, and we saw a
Turtles.
turtle as their zero gravity indicator on the flight up.
That was Crew-4. That's right, Allie. Yep. They're unbuckling.
There are a couple more turtles on board now, with Bob Hines and Jessica Watkins, all being from the same class as well.
Yep, those two are up on the space station. All right, Raj's coming out. Left seat on your screen is the commander's seat.
Like Raja is being helped out of his seat.
Pretty much, Clayton. Yeah, picking them up. You don't want to walk around, dude. You could have a heart attack when you come back down into the grav.
I can imagine that after spending 6 months in
Kate's
space,
about to say the same thing.
All of this must feel really weird.
Okay, Raj is out of the capsule.
Earlier about the water bottle feeling heavy. We can see that Commander Rajachari has now egressed the capsule and is making his way
welcome home,
onto
Commander.
the rollaway.
Give him
Like
the
he had some
thumbs.
thumbs up there just momentarily.
And bye-bye.
Yes, Rasha looks to be in good spirits after
bye-bye.
6 months in space.
Yeah, I
on
agree.
his first space flight.
I agree.
And of course,
Beep.
this is just a precaution after spending 6 months in space.
Yeah.
Being on a ship as well, whenever you return, it helps to have a seat and
That's right, Rickety.
maybe be helped to those medical bays. And that's very similar, like I mentioned, to a Soyuz landing where crew members are carried to the seats and then carried
Okay,
to
Gurney's
the medical
back.
tent. So this just makes it a
Alright,
little
looks
easier
like
for our
Tom's
crew
coming
members
out
who
now.
are just experiencing
Pilot on the mission,
gravity
Tom
for the first
Marshburn.
time in 6 months. Of course, they do work out about 2 hours a day on the space station to help
have
maintain
to.
muscle mass and bone
Beep, boop,
density.
beep, boop, beep. No, switch here.
But
Beep, boop,
when
boop,
they
beep,
are
beep, bop,
regaining this equilibrium,
Obviously.
every little bit helps.
Absolutely.
Why are there astronauts
You know,
on the
they went
recovery ship?
through
Flight
a
surgeons.
Dynamic event of
Switch
you know,
here.
re-entering
Flight
the
surgeons.
Earth's
They're
atmosphere.
the
As we said
doctors.
before, they experience
Also
about
astronauts,
3 to
like
5
Johnny Kim,
Gs.
for instance. That's why I was like, oh,
and
is that
then
him?
splashing down, they're bobbing in the ocean, and now they're on a ship. I can imagine that their inner ear is, you know, it's a challenge to readjust to,
Beep.
you know, the spin
Boop,
of the
boop, pop.
Earth.
Beep, pop, boop, boop, beep.
I believe that's Tom Marshburn, NASA astronaut, being helped out of the capsule. That means our 2 mission specialists, Matthias Maurer and Kayla Barron, are still inside. And there's
Tom's out.
Marshburn.
Also looks to be in great spirits.
How do they clean Dragon for reuse? They recoat the panels, like it. They take them off and recoat them, and then they put them back on. The coating burns off. It burns the paint off. So they just repaint them. It's coating because it's thermal protection.
You might hear some background noise here
I don't know, but
behind Leah
Jeffy,
and I. You know, we're at SpaceX.
I think the real Mr. Krabs, Jeffy, wouldn't be some steam-driven pile of junk. Hey, who you calling steam-driven?
Never stops.
Yeah, despite
the
splashdown, we're
the
still
paint,
alive.
Astro, the white paint on the
operations
outside.
environment,
It's not
so
paint,
you
it's
might hear
coating.
some
But the
production
white,
noise
the
in
thing
the background.
that makes Dragon white.
We are in a
white
rocket
paint.
factory.
Marshburn flew 2 shuttle missions, Kev.
And we're coming up on about an hour since
If I'm
splashdown.
remembering right.
That happened at
Please hold.
9:43 p.m. Pacific time. We have 2 crew members now out of Crew Dragon Endurance, breathing their first breaths of air on Earth for the first time in 6
One shuttle,
months.
one Soyuz.
And you see them being
STS
loaded
127, TMA-07, and then Crew-3.
and being
It's flown-
assisted
that was his 3rd time in
to
space.
the medical bays for those routine checks. They also were able to speak with a flight surgeon upon splashdown to make sure that they were feeling okay. And then after their checks, they will be transported to the helicopter on the helipad that's waiting to take them to shore, where they will part ways. We will have our NASA astronauts, Kayla Barron, Raja Chari,
That's
and Tom
right,
Marshburn coming back to Houston. Meanwhile, Matthias Maurer will board
actually-
in ESA, European Space Agency.
There is another astronaut that has flown on Soyuz, the shuttle, and Dragon. Anyone know who it is? I can think of one other person off the top of my head that's flown on those 3 spacecraft.
Of Crew-3 back in November of 2021. So
Ian, you got it.
It's
Soichi Noguchi.
we utilize the forward hatch to dock and undock with the
Doug
International
flew on the
Space
shuttle
Station, but that side hatch
and Dragon.
you know, upon opening,
Jim Lovell?
is really the first breath of fresh air for the astronauts since launch. Although
Jim
it is
flew on
it is
Gemini
Florida,
and Apollo.
and,
John
you know,
Young
as I
flew
mentioned,
on
I just
three.
returned from Cape Canaveral myself
Gemini,
a couple
Apollo,
days ago,
and
and
the
it always
shuttle.
astounds me that almost no matter what time of year, there's
Soichi
always
is the
humidity
space
in the
geek of
Florida
Chad.
air. So I can imagine that even when they do open the hatch, it's like, yes, fresh air, but it's also humidity, whereas the interior of Dragon capsule, you know, is air conditioned. So I can imagine, well, it's nice to have new air. It
He also
might
flew
not
the LEM.
necessarily
That's a good point.
have a
Twice.
fresh feel to it because of that humidity.
About a week, like
I'm sure
week to
for
2 weeks. It depends.
our
Everybody's
NASA
a little bit
astronauts
different.
who live in Houston, it probably feels a lot like home.
Jim Lovell.
And again, everything has moved pretty
Lovell
smoothly
flew on Gemini and
tonight
Apollo.
with the return
I'm
of
pretty sure
Crew
that's it.
Dragon. We even had views
Jim Lovell
from
flew
prior
2 Apollo
to
missions, though.
drogue parachute deployment
13.
from the WB-57 thermal camera that
Did a shuttle ever fly
allowed us
alongside
to
the
see
Saturn
not only
V?
drogue deployment but
No.
also deployment of 4 main.
The last Saturn V mission was Skylab 1 in 1973. The first shuttle mission was STS-1 in 1981. Shame. Trolling. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that's right, Orange. Yep. Apollo. Did you remember
So right now,
Apollo
team members
8?
are working
I
with
was taking
mission
a bath
specialist
in
Kayla
pudding
Barron
at
to
the
assist
time.
her out of Dragon Endurance.
Sorry, just like really doing a good impression of the NASA administrator. You think that he might not talk like this, like it might be an over-exaggeration, but no, you'd be wrong.
That is mission specialist Kayla Barron.
Kayla's coming out
receiving
here.
some help as she makes her way outside.
And so I put that nice emote in the chat for you all to enjoy. Senator, Administrator, Representative Nelson's mug. Beep! Oh, it's time. That's my alarm to eat my pudding.
All right, looks like Kayla Barron has made her
That's right,
way
Astro.
down
Yep.
Dragon's accessibility slide and is
Kayla's
going to
coming
be
out,
making
coming home from her
way
first
to the
mission.
medical tents. I think I see a smile on her face.
Yeah, that's right. Now you change motor oil with pudding.
We have one more crew member inside Crew Dragon. That's European Space
My
Agency
beau.
astronaut Matthias Marr, one of the mission
All
specialists.
right, Matthias. Schnell. The president proposes and Congress disposes. He said that in a Senate testimony. That's really funny, actually. Is Kayla a turtle? Yep. Kayla's a turtle. Yep.
That'll be our last.
He
crew
said that in
member
a
to
Senate. He said
exit
that on
Crew
the
Dragon
record.
Endurance.
What
All
a G.
will now
That's
be
pretty funny, actually.
receiving those routine
What's the cable
medical
around the top
checks
of Dragon?
inside the bays on recovery vessel
stowing the
Shannon
parachute rigging.
before being escorted to the
Bill
helicopter
Nelson,
that will
NASA
take them
administrator,
back
Astro.
to land. Their
Yeah, he said that on a
first,
said that in a Senate
steps on dry land.
Senate Commerce,
in
Justice,
6
and
months.
Science Committee meeting yesterday. It's pretty funny, actually, or 2 days ago. 2 days ago. Yeah.
Once the recovery vessel.
Long story short, a senator that was on this. Hey, Matthias is out. Wunderbar. Welcome home, mein Freund. Long story short, yesterday, somebody asked Bill about the budget, right? And he basically said, look, you guys want me to do grandiose things, but you don't give me the money to do it. You got to give me the money to do it. And that's what as you know, the president proposes and Congress disposes. He basically says the president has good ideas, but Congress always fricks it up. He said that right to a senator's face, which is actually really goddamn funny.
Approximately 2 a.m. Eastern
Freaking
time,
wrecked.
so make sure to tune into that.
I did, yeah.
This all kicked
Covered it on
off
Space
on
News
November
yesterday.
10th, 2021 from historic launch pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. After successful liftoff and separation from Falcon 9, Raja, Tom, Kayla, and Matthias made a 24-hour flight on board Dragon to the International Space Station. Since arriving at the space station, they spent nearly 6 months as members of Expedition 6667, that'll be 175 days to be exact, executing science experiments, spacewalks, and repairs while aboard the orbiting laboratory.
Yeah, right.
Of course, their journey home began last night, May 4th, Star Wars Day, when they closed the hatch to Dragon and undocked later at 10:20 p.m. Pacific time. After 4 successful departure burns and a phasing burn to line up their orbit, Raja, Tom, Kayla, and Matthias rested for a few hours before waking up to prepare for re-entry this morning. As you saw earlier, we jettisoned Dragon's trunk and performed our final on-orbit maneuver, the deorbit burn, at about 8:53 p.m. Pacific to send Dragon on the path home. The spacecraft re-entered the Earth's atmosphere and slowed its descent with successful deployment of its 2 drogue parachutes, followed by the 4 main parachutes, of course, with the final splashdown occurring off the coast of Florida at 9:43 p.m. Pacific time.
Yes.
Following that successful splashdown, we saw Dragon recovery experts move in and prepare Dragon Endurance for its lift onto the recovery vessel. And just a little less than an hour ago, following in less than an hour following splashdown, we saw Raja, Tom, Kayla, and Matthias make their way out of Dragon and into the recovery ship's medical facilities, safe and sound.
So next up, they will catch a helicopter flight back to shore. They'll transfer to an aircraft that will take them home. So Rasha, Tom, and Kayla will take that NASA plane for the short flight back to Houston, and Matthias will head back to Europe. They will be reunited with their families to bring an end to this mission. It has been a true honor and a privilege to share their journey with you as we continue this new era in human spaceflight, but of course, we always have more coming up soon.
Return this morning marks the end of the direct handover we just executed after successfully launching the Crew-4 mission to the space station just a little over a week ago. It's been an incredible honor to enjoy to share this mission with the public. All the teams from SpaceX and NASA continue to work hard to keep America leading the world in human spaceflight. Continue to follow SpaceX and NASA online and on social media for updates for the very latest on crew and cargo flights to and from the International Space Station.
And we'll continue to share the progress of Rasha, Tom, Kayla, and Matthias as they travel back home on social media. Again, that post-splashdown media telecon coming up at about 2 a.m. Eastern Time, where leadership from NASA, ESA, and SpaceX will share a final update as we conclude the successful mission. So, one more thank you for tuning in and cheering on Raja, Tom, Kayla, and Matthias as they head home. And of course, we'll see you again very soon when we once again launch astronauts to the International Space Station from America on NASA's SpaceX's mission. So long.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Kate. Very cool. All right. Flight controllers are packing it up. Not bad. Not bad. We got that presser happening in a second. Guys, we'll probably watch that, but I just want to say, look, SpaceX makes this look easy. Seriously, they really do. They really make this look easy. This is not easy. You know, the fact that they've, you know, put DM2 up there, Crew-1, Crew-2, Crew-3, Crew-4 is up there right now. Crew-5's waiting in the wings. This is not easy to do. They make it look easy. Just like the Apollo astronauts made Apollo look easy. And then Apollo 13 showed how bad stuff can get real quick if you don't know what you're doing, right? Like, don't know what you're doing. That's not the right way to say it. It shows how easy, even with competent personnel, it can get out of hand. But with that being said, like, it's a new era, man. They make this look simple. And they're getting their boosters back, and they're reusing capsules. Like, they make it look simple. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And you know what the crazy part is? SpaceX, the Dragon has been flying great since 2020, but in another week and a half, there's going to be another crew capsule going up there. Not a SpaceX. Starliner's going to go up there. So then we're going to have 2 ways to go into space. And then Dream Chaser's going to go up later this year. And Dream Chaser is crew rated. There's going to be, now Crew isn't launching on the first Dream Chaser, but then there's going to be 3 ways to get up into space. And then Orion's going to launch, and then there's going to be 4 ways to get up into space. 4 U.S. space vehicles. It's crazy. And every single one of those entities is making this look, well, maybe not Dream Chaser and Starliner because people haven't flown on those yet. Neither with Orion, but the fact that this is going as smooth as it is a testament to the people that are working on these. They come from all over the U.S. and sometimes parts of the other world. You know, all capabilities and limitations, as John Young would say. You know, they proved that they could do the job, and they proved that for the world to see. And I'm mighty proud to be associated with folks like that. Hot take, we need another chemical way to get into rockets, get into space that isn't chemical rockets. We need more efficiency. Yes, and if I had a teleporter, I'd be able to get groceries better. Nice hot take, though. Yeah, dude, I mean, that would be nice. Dude, what are you going to make your non-chemical spacecraft run off? Hopes and dreams, dude? Hey, you have the nicer version of my headset. Black Shark V2? That's right, Flykin. Minimize probability of failure, dude. What do they plan on racing with? Hopes and dreams? I have your headset but wireless. Oh, yeah? This can be wireless too, guys. Yeah. I just don't like... I'll forget to charge the stupid battery, so... Pretty cool, though, huh? It's something. It's something that this is going that smooth, you know. Not even like a hydrazine leak out of the capsule when it's splashed down in the water. Nothing. Nothing. And they make this look so easy. It's not easy. I can't... Flying people into space is difficult, man. It's really, really tough. Like nothing, like no difficulty level you've ever seen. You're a transporter. No.